throw from Conine is late, and it's a screamer of a double to start this ball game. There they go. Throw to third. Beats him, but he got his foot in. The 50th for Ohtani. That's a base hit to right field. Ohtani's 2 for 2. Muncie's headed for the plate. Conine's throws cut off. He's got 2 hits. He's got a stolen base. He's got a run scored. He's got a run batted in. Slashes his 3rd hit of the game into the left center field gap. Lucks in to score. Here comes Pages. Ohtani heading for 3rd. Ohtani sends one in the air. Deep right field. He's in a world of his own. On a 1-2, Ohtani sends one in the air. The other way. Back it goes. Gone! One-of-a-kind player. One-of-a-kind season. Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club. We are watching this guy. Oh, my gosh! Shohei Ohtani! The greatest day in baseball history! This is not real life. He is not human. I can't even keep up with what the final line is. Let's make sure we get this exactly right. And then send it straight to Cooperstown. Authenticate this line. 6 for 6. 10 runs batted in. And a 50-50 club. And a trip to the postseason. All rolled into one rollicking Miami day.
Have a day.
By time?
What day it is.
It's Friday.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7:02. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. You heard from Joe Davis on Dodgers television last night, and it's not hyperbole. Brooke Grimsley is here. Danny Mack is here. Matthew Rocchio is here. I'm Randy Carricker, and it's great to have you with us. And I don't think it was hyperbole, kids, for Joe to say that it was the best day, the best game in baseball history in the midst of the best season for anybody in baseball history. We are in a unique position in life. And Mike Martz always said, with the greatest show on turf, remember, this is a special place and time. Remember this, what you're witnessing with Shohei Ohtani, because you will never see it again. You might see another 50-50 season. You might see the drama that Shohei is bringing to a team that might be the best in baseball, but you'll never see another first 50-50 season. You'll never see another first Japanese player that delivers a 50-50 season, and you'll never see, and I think I can safely say this, a guy who has a 50-50 season, the best hitting season in baseball history, that's just waiting to come back and be the ace pitcher for his team next year.
Exactly. Happy Friday, everyone. Wow, what a way to kick it off. Shohei Ohtani, he is the unicorn for a reason. Now, the conversation all day will be, where does he rank amongst the greatest of all time? Guys, I think from a pure talent standpoint of what he's able to do, as you mentioned, he's able to pitch. I understand that Babe Ruth exists. I know that that's a separate discussion, especially what he meant to baseball history, but Babe Ruth also wasn't stealing 50 bases in a season. 51 right now for Shohei Ohtani. He wasn't slinging over 100 with his fastball. I don't know. I think that Shohei Ohtani, and he's not done yet. He will be back to pitch, as you mentioned, next year. He might be the greatest from a pure talent standpoint of all time.
I don't know if I would have him pitch. I'm serious. Why? If he's putting up these kind of numbers, and I realize he might get 130 to 150 innings and very well could dominate, I don't want to take the risk of getting him hurt. I might just say, you know what, the heck with it. Just make him a hitter, make him the DH. And remember, this is a rehab season for him, which is amazing to see what he can do. I was looking at and just seeing putting it in perspective of what this means to the Dodgers this year and then this month. Freddie Freeman, great player. unbelievable player. 3 home runs, 10 runs batted in this month. Shohei had 3 home runs and 10 RBIs in a game. And he got a curtain call on the road. That was amazing to see what happened in Miami, all 3,000 of them.
Even if you, all 3,000 of them. I see what you did there, Dan. Even if you look at the Cardinals, just putting this in perspective of just how insane this is with Shohei Ohtani. Combine Goldie and Burley's home runs this season. They have 42. Shohei Ohtani has 51 right now. Siani and Wynn lead with stolen bases. Combined, they have 30. Ohtani has 51. That is one person who's making that big of a difference. Yeah. We are really witnessing one of the greatest baseball players of all time. So I once again will ask you guys, where are you putting him right now amongst that ranking?
And I'm thinking about it because Willie Mays was an otherworldly outfielder, right? He was maybe the best defensive center fielder of all time and did hit 660. And he stole a lot of bases. I think that would be the only real comp. So what you have to do is decide, okay, what do I prefer? Willie Mays' defense or Shohei's pitching? I think I would take Shohei's pitching and give Shohei the edge. By the way, he was apparently a Gold Glove quality outfielder before he came. He would play outfield and pitch when he was in Japan and was a Gold Glove quality outfielder. I think from a talent standpoint, Brooke, and we can't stack the numbers up yet. From a talent standpoint, I would have to go with Ohtani.
I'm with you. I think it's Ohtani. And again, if he pitches next year, which by all accounts he will, I watched him throw a bullpen the other day. I was watching the Dodger game, and there he was on the mound in their bullpen, just throwing on the side and getting back his rehab and doing that and getting it done. I think he's the best ever. And what makes it amazing is how strong and how big he is to get that amount of stolen bases. It's not like we're talking about we're not talking Juan Pierre here. Just laying down bunts and stealing bases. We're talking about a big man that's strong with 50-plus home runs.
He's the same size as Jason Hayward.
Exactly. I mean, he's huge.
Yeah.
He's ripped, and he's hitting home runs, and he's stealing bases. It's just incredible. And like you always say, Brooke, he's a unicorn. I mean, Willie Mays, unbelievable player. Maybe the best ever, but this has got to put him, Ohtani, in the conversation.
Yeah, if we're going to look at players that aren't tainted by PEDs, because otherwise you'd have to put A-Rod in there as one of the best players of all time with his defense and his offensive ability. Because Barry was deficient defensively, as dominant as he was offensively, I don't know that I would put Barry in that conversation. Mickey Mantle has to be in that conversation. He was a dominant defensive player. DiMaggio. But, man, because of the fact, number one, that none of those guys did what Shohei Ohtani has done.
Right.
A lot of people have tried to hit 50 homers and steal 50 bases. Nobody's even come close. So from that perspective, I would have to go with him and then throw in the pitching. And, yeah, it's hard to argue against him.
Yeah, and he's not even done yet. I sent you guys a story, too, last night. Craig Mish reporting that the fan who caught Shohei Ohtani's 50th home run baseball opted to walk away with it. So now, I guess we'll have to look around on eBay today. It wouldn't go on eBay, but where would they list it at?
They'll have
do they have negotiations starting with the Dodgers, possibly? You hire a lawyer?
I don't think so. I think you call an auction house first. Well, first you call a money person.
Yeah,
because that's
well, you know what? The first guy I would call is Ohtani. And I'd say, here's the going price for your ball. And we know he can afford it. He's going to make $700 million and say, you know what? I got this at an auction house in terms of what the value is. If you want the baseball, here you go.
And then offer to the Dodgers, too, right?
That's the other part. Price, yeah. And for people wondering, like, okay, so the fan walked out with the ball. Every baseball is authenticated before it goes into play. So you know exactly what baseball you get, and it's authenticated before the first pitch, and they go through a ton of baseballs, but every one during that game is authenticated, so you have the correct baseball that was hit for history.
So if you were the person who caught that ball, would you be leaving, or would you try to stay in there and negotiate?
I would try to get the ball back into the hands of Ohtani and find out if he cares about it, first of all.
Yeah, some guys don't even care.
Yeah. I think Mark McGwire got that ball, the 62 ball, and liked it, but I don't think he cared. And I don't think he cared when Phil Ozerski took number 70 and sold it.
If you're Cooperstown in Major League Baseball, do you step in? Auction house says it's $3 million. And if you're Cooperstown, do you go in and buy it?
I think that's a sensible move on their part, yeah.
I do, too. I think I'd walk away with it. And a lot of times guys walk away with it and they say, okay, I want to get something back, and it's like a jersey sign and a bat. Well, this is going to go for millions of dollars, so I probably walk away with it.
It's like a lottery ticket at that point. Yeah.
If you're Cooperstown, though, I know personally from a display standpoint, I'd rather have the jersey and the bat than the ball.
Which is probably the mindset that they have in the spikes.
Yeah.
That's something to think about, too. I wonder if he used the same bat the entire game. I'm assuming he didn't have a crack in the bat.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to think about, too.
Wonder Boy.
He might have Wonder Boy in there, the natural.
Yeah.
He is the natural, though.
He is.
He is the natural right now.
It seems like Albert Pujols, for his 700th home run, did he care about that?
No.
Not to my knowledge.
I
don't think he cared about any of them.
No, he really didn't. History he cared about, but not the actual equipment.
Yeah.
Somebody from the 314 said, I would approach Ohtani's translator. Oh, he got a new one, didn't he?
So, you have to make a prison.
The other one is going somewhere else.
Whatever happened to that guy?
Cardinals fell to the Pirates last night at the ballpark 3-2. Pirates scoring late to come away with the victory. They salvaged the finale of the 4-game series. Eric Fetty, 6 innings. He allowed 1 run on 4 hits, which is good for Eric Fetty. Eric Fetty apparently is just worn down. He's never been through this before. And pitching 6 months and having expectations, which he did when he came here. He's kind of worn down. So that's a good performance for Fetty last night. And tonight, the Cardinals will open a 3-game series with the Guardians, who always turn out good young pitching. They're amazing. And tonight, we'll see another one of those guys in Ben Lively, who has, by the way, a lively arm.
And I got what you're saying there, Randy. I knew it was coming out of your mouth before you even said it. But the Guardians just wrapped up a postseason spot, so maybe they had a late night, had a little fun, and then they'll come into St. Louis, and you're going to see one of the top closers in the game, Emmanuel Clase. You'll probably see Ramirez at some point, one of the great hitters in the game. So, yeah, it should be a good test for the Cardinals. Going back to last night, they only had 6 hits, and 4 of the 6 came from Donovan. He had, and you're talking about Fetty kind of running out of gas. I look at young players at this stage in the season, and they run out of gas. Yep. And Brendan Donovan is not, obviously. And the other thought that I had from last night was the ABs in the 9th against Chapman. I thought they were really good. I thought, Baker may have walked into a home run, so they took good ABs late. But 4 relievers for the Cardinals gave up 4 hits and 2 runs, and that's the difference in the game. The Pirates relievers, 3 of them only gave up 1 hit. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah, you're right. At this point, I'm just watching the younger players to see what they're able to do. And Brendan Donovan continues to just be, in my opinion, one of the most valuable players for what he's able to bring to the table for the Cardinals. He's a true utility man, and you can put him anywhere on the field, and he's able to produce.
And in that clubhouse, he just appears to be the leader.
He is.
With all due respect to the guys that have been there for a long time, he appears to have grabbed that mantle as the guy that people like to follow.
And he wants to be.
Yeah.
There's a difference, too, where you look at it and a guy produces. Goldie is a good example. He is a leader, but he's not, as a fan, when you're watching, it's not outwardly towards, grabbing a guy and sitting him down and where the cameras catch that. But behind the scenes, he's doing that. And I think Brendan Donovan probably welcomes that challenge as well.
Yeah, it's interesting going back to a couple of years ago when Albert walked in. And apparently one of the things that kind of, from what I understand, bothered Yachty is that when Albert walked into that clubhouse, it was his clubhouse. And Yachty had the clubhouse for a while. And Albert walks in, and a lot of the kids didn't even know him. But they gravitated towards him. They wanted to follow him. You can be a leader. You can do all the things, but you need to have people want to follow you, too. And that's one of the things that apparently Donovan has.
I remember when Genesis Cabrera was on the mound and threw the baseball down, didn't wait for Ollie to hand him the ball when he was coming out of the game, and the cameras caught it, but they're in the dugout, and right at his hip is Albert Pujols saying, we don't do that and you don't do that. This is a professional league. This is Major League Baseball, and there's a way to handle yourself on the field, and that's not it. And he never did it again.
By the way, going back to the Guardians, who did clinch the playoff spot, and they're going to win their division, they're a half game behind the Yankees for the top seed in the American League. They're 3.5 ahead of Baltimore, so they'll probably wind up as the number 1 or 2 seed. I wonder if home field means anything to Cleveland, if battling the rest of the way to finish with the best record in the American League means anything to them.
I'm sure it does. And I will say, though, does it make you guys sad just looking and seeing all the different teams celebrate, watching the Brewers celebrate the other day? I don't know. It's painful to watch that.
I was saying yesterday at the ballpark, part of what makes this my favorite time of year is playoff baseball and being able to go because the weather and the sky and the sun and the feel of postseason baseball is just different. It's perfect. And missing out on that sucks.
I'd say home field advantage does matter for Cleveland. They're 20 games above 500 at home, and on the road, they're just 4 games above 500. So playing at home probably makes a difference for them.
Yeah, so they might come in tonight, even though they did clinch a playoff spot last night, with a little bit of motivation.
By the way, a little birdie told me something yesterday, Randy, because I know that you went by the ballpark, because that's what the little birdie told me. And they said that you were there for the Hello Kitty giveaway.
Yes, how about that?
I didn't know you were a big Hello Kitty fan.
I've got friends with daughters. Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah, you gotta take care of that.
Dan, you asked that the other day if that's even still popular with kids. I don't know. Is it?
I have no idea.
But there's adults who love it as well.
There are adults that love it. Yeah.
Like Randy.
Yes, exactly.
Apparently. Right. There's an adult that loves them. It'll be in their hands henceforth. By the way, Thursday Night Football last night, Jets and Aaron Rodgers over the Patriots by a score of 24-3. Coming up, Lindenwood in action tomorrow. They take on St. Thomas, and we're going to talk to their head coach, Jed Stugar, next on 101 ESPN. Mafia back together tomorrow as the Lions host St. Thomas at Hunter Stadium in St. Charles, Missouri. The head coach of the Lindenwood Lions, Jed Stugar, joins us right now here on 101 ESPN. Coach, good morning. How you doing?
Doing great. How are y'all this morning?
Everything's good. And, man, you've had a rugged schedule to start the season. Not that things soften up at all against St. Thomas, but I would think that you're is it safe to say that you're punching more in your weight class with St. Thomas?
Well, yeah, I think any smart coach would say that we're not going to take anybody for granted. We're going to prepare for the best team in the country. I think to your point, I think, we're similar in this, in the extent that we've kind of moved up the same time. They're a little ahead of us on the transition up to Division I. And, and I think we're playing back home. And, Randy, we've had like you said, it has been a tough 3 games right out of the chute. But I tell you what, they're a really good football team. Northern Iowa's ranked up in the top 25, and they took them to only lost 17-10, and I've known this coach a long time back in our North Central Conference days, and Glenn's done a great job, and they're always they're a winning tradition team, and they won so much in Division III they actually got kicked out of their conference. That's not actually a joke. So they've got a great tradition of winning. We got to be ready to roll, but it's just going to be great to be back home, and obviously, we shouldn't be talking about me. We should be talking about this cool thing that's happening on Saturday with the old Lindenwood media mafia coming back. This is pretty exciting.
So do you have advice for Randy? He's got the play-by-play in the third quarter, Coach.
Well, no, I don't have any advice right off the top of my head. He's mentally prepared. I see sporting the LU gear this morning. He's mentally preparing, but I tell you what, the one you got to watch out for is what Amzinger says. I think that's the one I got to kind of prep a little bit and make sure we're paying attention.
So I have been invited to be one of the honorary captains. So when I come out to midfield, I'm going to have a play for you to install at halftime, and then you can install it and then run it in the third quarter when I'm doing the play-by-play.
Well, after the first 3 weeks, Randy, we're up for any suggestions, buddy. So in fact, you could give us a play to start the game, and we'll let you call the coin toss. I don't even think we won a coin toss the last 2 weeks, so I think everything's going to change this week.
Tails.
Tails never fails. Well, that's what Devin, our captain, keeps saying, and it's done it twice. But I think the third time's the charm.
Coach, you had 2 players both getting a Player of the Week accolades, Steve Hall and Vincent King. What have they meant to your team?
Oh, man, Steven, right out of MICDS here, a local kid, probably would have played for us last year as a true freshman. But he had a little cleanup surgery that we thought we'd just get done for him. So he ended up redshirting, and he's been everything we thought he'd be. The kid's amazing. We've got a great stable of running backs. With Robert Giamo was kind of our starter last year that got dinged up and had a postseason injury, and he's coming back. He's getting stronger and stronger. But to know that Stephen Hall has been there, he's kind of he's got kind of everything. He's an explosive runner. He's an elusive runner, and he can run inside the tackles as a power runner too. And he catches great out of the backfield. So he was all over the field the other night, and so really excited for both those guys.
Coach, should be a beautiful day, and this is St. Louis's Division I football team. Should be a great day to get on over to Lindenwood and watch your club play.
Absolutely. It'll be a great atmosphere. We play at 1 o'clock, and, kind of advice for everybody to make sure you don't wait for game day. Get your tickets online. It's always discounted, a little cheaper to buy them online, and you kind of bypass all the lines and everything and on game day. But get out there for that great tailgate. The atmosphere has been awesome. And obviously, and Randy, we are really excited. I think this is a historic deal. I think this is the coolest thing to have all y'all back for this, and we appreciate it because we're definitely you're one of our proud alums that we're fired up about.
Well, I appreciate it, and thanks to Bob Ramsey for getting this going, and we're looking forward. I saw Jim Hewer yesterday. He's really excited about it. It's great to have Greg Amzinger coming in. David Amilati from First Alert 4 is going to be there, and several others. So we'll have a great time, and we're proud and looking forward to it too.
Well, we'll see you at the coin toss, man.
Yep, you got it. Thanks, Coach.
Have a great day, y'all.
You too. Jed Stugar, the head coach at Lindenwood. Meanwhile, tomorrow at 3 o'clock in Columbia, Mizzou will host Vandy. The Tigers, number 7 in the country, and 25th ranked Illinois takes on number 22 Nebraska. That game tonight, I believe. That's an ESPN game, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be an interesting game and a big one for the Fighting Illini.
I think, honestly, that might be one of the better games of the weekend, too. If you look at Illinois and what they've been able to do, and Nebraska, Matt Rule, what he's been able to build at Nebraska, and even Brett Bielema, think about what he's been able to build over there in Illinois. They lost some really key pieces from last season to the NFL, and they were still able to find a way to do what they're doing this season. Both 3-0 going in. I don't know. I don't know what to expect this game. I hope that Illinois is able to pull through, though.
Nebraska QB is a hell of a player, true freshman. He's fun to watch. Mizzou is a 20.5-point favorite against Vanderbilt. You know what? Their defense responded last week. They were down 14-3 in that deficit. They played a tight game and then were able to get through it and obviously beat a top 25 team. So looking at the response of the Missouri defense, the rushing attack looks good right now. So far, so good for Mizzou. Brady Cook, one of the questions I have is just downfield accuracy. Can it get a little bit better? It hasn't been that great so far. And they need to clean up the penalties. Too many penalties. They had 8 for 91 yards. They got to clean that up. And then, as I always say, the key in every game for Mizzou this year, find a way to get the ball to old Luther Burden and let him do his thing.
Luther Burden finds a way. He also was on the Paul Feinbaum show yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw where he talked about Mizzou playing on the bigger stage. And I like that he's going out and saying that publicly, because obviously he mentioned that they're getting their respect on SEC Network. It's SEC Network. They're going to mention all the teams, but he's talking about nationally Mizzou getting more coverage. If you can go out there and have an explosive game, to your point, Dan, against Vanderbilt, continue to roll as you go into more into SEC play, especially going to that Texas A&M game, I think a lot more people have respect for them. As you mentioned, though, it is interesting, something that I think that we will watch for, because Brady Cook even mentioned this about how people have noted the lack of explosive plays. He's attempted 10 passes of 20 yards or more this season, completing just 2 of them. But the good thing for Mizzou is that Vandy's pass defense is absolutely terrible. So this could be a really good game for him. If you remember last year, it was a huge game for them offensively, especially the wide receivers.
You know, Washington, the Huskies played in a lot of tight games last year. That might be the case with Mizzou this year.
Yeah.
Just play in tight games, but find a way to win and see where you wind up.
Yep. And that game, by the way, tomorrow, 3:15 on SEC Network. Thanks to the smartest listenership in America. Tonight's Illinois-Nebraska game is on Big Fox, so that'll be on the 2 Fox here in town. By the way, Matt Rule has done something that I didn't think could be done, at least right now. Now, can they catch up to Notre Dame or to Ohio State in the conference? Probably not. Nebraska can't. But to get Nebraska relevant and rated again, I didn't think that was going to happen after the drop-off and the move to the Big Ten. Worst mistake of any conference realignment. Nebraska going to the Big Ten was the worst. And congratulations to Matt Rule for having them back. And by the way, one of the reasons that they have returned to relevance, our buddy Grant Wistrom is back in their administration.
I didn't see them doing this in year 2. Yeah. And I was watching the Colorado game. I watched the entire game against Nebraska, and it just felt like old Nebraska football again. You know, they were just pounding the football and they're moving it all over the place. The crowd was excited. It just felt like old Nebraska football again. So I'm kind of excited to see what they can do.
We've also talked about the good personalities that you have in college football right now. I think Matt Rule is one of them.
Yeah.
He is funny, especially, have you guys seen a lot of his press conferences?
Yeah. How happy would you be if you got fired by the Carolina Panthers?
Be thrilled. And still getting paid.
Yeah, get paid like $50 million bucks.
What are you guys expecting from Mizzou? I know we have to head out here in a minute, but are you expecting maybe, because we talked about for the rankings with Tennessee jumping over Mizzou, maybe the style points matter here. If you're Mizzou, you have the ability to do so. Do you run up the scoreboard?
I think you have to try. They're favored by 20, you said, Daniel?
20.5.
20.5.
That's what the friends are saying.
Yes.
I would think that, with all due respect to what Vanderbilt has done in the early going, I would say that Missouri will probably cover that 20.5.
20.5's a lot, Randall.
But you're at home. You've had now several weeks to learn about your team if you're the coaching staff, clean up the turnovers, clean up the mistakes. Way too many penalties for Mizzou. And I would think that during this week, that coaching staff probably got them prepared to play a good, clean game. You play with their talent, with Mizzou's overwhelming talent advantage over Vandy. If they play a clean game, they should win by 3 touchdowns.
Vandy, their first game looked pretty good. Then after that, they have not. And to your point of cleaning up the penalties, I mentioned it earlier, they had 8 for 91 yards. Can't do that.
No,
Cannot do that if you're Missouri.
And that's one thing that Drinkwitz teams have been pretty good about, is keeping the penalties down. Coming up, it's going to be Week 3 in the NFL, and we've got Week 3 NFL storylines coming your way on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. One of the most amazing nights in baseball history last night in Miami as Shohei Ohtani becomes the first player in baseball history to cross the 50-50 mark, and he does it in style. 6 for 6, 10 RBIs, 3 home runs, and 2 stolen bases, finishing the night with 51 and 51. A little exclamation point there. The Cardinals, on the other hand, they'll be back in action today as they face off against the Cleveland Guardians. Ben Lively, whose arm is lively, according to Randy Carricker. He's 12-9 on the season with a 3.87 ERA, and he faces off against Kyle Gibson for the Cardinals. Also last night, Thursday Night Football kicked off NFL Week 3 as the Jets smothered the Patriots 24-3. That is your SportsCenter update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Time for Week 3 storylines in the NFL, and the Dallas Cowboys and Baltimore Ravens are going to play in the 3:25 window, St. Louis time, on Sunday. The Cowboys have been awful against the run. They're allowing 141.5 yards per game. The Ravens, as always, run the ball well. However, they lost their offensive line coach, Joe D'Alessandris, succumbed to an illness just 3 weeks ago, and they replaced him with George Warhop. This after losing their right guard in free agency and trading their right tackle, Morgan Moses. They expected D'Alessandris, as he always had, to develop young offensive linemen. So the Ravens are having a little bit of trouble, even though they're running the ball well and they have Derrick Henry. But the key to this game is going to be the Ravens' ability to hang on to the football through their running game. Historically, they've led the league in rushing every year. And now that they've added Derrick Henry, in theory, because they have that running back, they should be. I think the big key for Baltimore is going to be able to stay out of passing downs, stay ahead of the chains, and stay on script and keep the ball away from Dak Prescott. But I think this is an interesting game because it's a game that Baltimore should be able to win and maybe even dominate. If Baltimore loses this game, they're done. They're 0-3, and if the Ravens lose to the Cowboys, they're done.
Are you surprised by this Ravens start and the way that they've played specifically?
I'm not, because of the death of their offensive line coach.
Yeah.
It's a big hit emotionally and in terms of the overall coaching for this team. He was a run game coordinator. The reason that they're a huge part of the reason the Ravens have been such a great running team for such a long time, even with different offensive coordinators, is because of Joe D'Alessandris. That's a hard thing to change. He died on August 26th, right at the end of training camp. So it's tough.
Ravens, their secondary has been terrible too.
Mm-hmm.
So CD Lamb going into that game, a bounce back with Dak, and can Dallas defense bounce back as well? They were just destroyed by New Orleans. A couple of different things to think about in that game. Ravens, by the way, are favored by 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. All right, the game that I like is Philly and New Orleans. The Saints are favored by 2.5. The Saints offense scored on their first 15 possessions to start the year. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, has been remarkable. Probably will be a head coach next year with the way that things are going for the New Orleans Saints. The Eagles defense allowed 7 yards a carry on Monday night. They've been terrible. And so the storyline I think that could happen, especially if the Eagles lose that game, will we be talking about the immediate future of Nick Sirianni? And I think that's a valid question if they do not come out and play well or even win that game.
Especially if he has multiple, I guess you could say, costly coaching mistakes like he did in that game the other day.
I would think that at this point, Jeffrey Lurie is probably getting pretty impatient with Sirianni.
I think he has to.
And with the fact that they have a former NFL head coach in Fangio as their defensive coordinator, pretty easy job not easy job, but pretty easy just to slide in an interim. If you decide, okay, Sirianni's not our guy, and you want to make Kellen Moore just give him complete control of the offense, it'd be a pretty easy move for the Eagles to make.
What do you think about Derek Carr? Did you see the report that he got fined for his Michael Jackson celebration?
Yeah, no fun league.
Why do they do that? I don't understand that. All right, my story of the week. The Steelers and Chargers are both 2-0 going into this weekend's matchup. Sunday, they'll be facing off against each other. While it'll be a battle on the field, guys, I'm going to be looking to the sideline for two of the great coaching minds that come up with great coaching one-liners. So which coach had the better saying going into this weekend? We'll start with Mike Tomlin.
You know, none of your businesses, respectfully. There's certain things that go on among teams that I don't talk about. Whether it gets out or how it gets out is unimportant to me, and I'm not overly guarded against it. But it's just certain things as a leader that I talk to the collective about that I have zero intentions of sharing with the larger public, because it's about our collective and how we come together and how we appreciate and support one another. And, I can't give you all the ingredients to the hot dog. You might not like it.
All the ingredients. So he was asked about, if you saw the press conference that he had there, he was asked about the petty game ball. If you saw the reports about that from last week, where Justin Fields said that he gave the petty game ball to Russell Wilson after they won against the Broncos, which offensively they haven't really done anything spectacular, but they still have been able to win the game. But what a quote you have from Tomlin. And now let's hear Jim Harbaugh's quote of the week, where he talks about his staff.
He's just a great. He's a great coach. I mean, one of the best I've ever been around. Like Moses, I'm gonna die leaning on my staff. Greg Roman, Jesse Minter, Ryan Fick, and those coordinators are, in my opinion, some of the best in the business. And
that's a great one too.
Yeah.
Which one do you guys like better?
I like the hot dog one.
Yeah,
that applies more to me. Yeah.
You're going to take that. You're going to take notes of that one and say, okay, I got to figure out a way to use this in a discussion. But with both these coaches, which one, if you're saying I'm building a team tomorrow and I need to get a team to the playoffs, to the postseason, which coach are you taking?
Harbaugh.
I'm taking Mike Tomlin. And I can't lose with either guy.
Nope.
I mean, I think both can flat out coach. And what Harbaugh's done, his team is a little banged up. And then on the flip side with Mike Tomlin, putting in Justin Fields. Fields has not turned the ball over yet this year, which I think surprises a lot of people after watching him in Chicago. So, Russell sits with the calf injury and Justin Fields plays. But, man, both guys, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them.
No.
You just can't.
And then one of the big stories around the NFL this week, obviously, is the benching of Bryce Young in Carolina. Andy Dalton is going to get the start. I don't think it's going to end well for Bryce Young in Carolina. It doesn't end well for anybody. Steve Wilkes didn't succeed there. Obviously, Frank Reich didn't succeed there last year. They just, since the David Tepper purchase of the club 7 years ago, they've been a disaster area. They need FEMA down there.
Okay, Randy, you're out of this equation because I know you in your basement you got like 15 TVs, watching everything. Yeah. So last night, if you had one TV, are you watching Aaron Rodgers on Thursday Night Football, or are you watching, I'm going to take Ohtani out of it, so keep it localized, or are you watching the Cardinals? Which one are you going to watch?
Probably Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, me too.
Is that sad that we're to this point?
Yeah.
But it feels like with the Cardinals, you've already seen all that you could see.
Aaron Rodgers was awesome last night.
He was.
Yeah.
At 40 years old, he was still moving around, because in that first game of the season, he still looked, maybe a little stiff and where the age was coming in, but he did not look like it last night whatsoever. But to your point, too, about Bryce Young, I feel for him, and I know that he spoke yesterday about, he's handling this well and that he's going to continue to learn, but it's hard to not believe that David Tepper, what he's doing, how he's just tampering with his own organization, it seems like micromanaging, is hampering the young talent. And we've seen it time and time again. Look at the guys who've also left. I mean, you have Baker Mayfield doing better after he left. You have Sam Darnold doing better after he left. It seems like anybody who gets out of that organization does better than when they're there.
And it appears as if you can push David Tepper's buttons. I mean, heck, he threw a drink on a fan last year. So if you're Bryce Young, you just ask for a trade. And publicly go to the media and say, I want to be traded, and he'll trade you, because he'll just get mad.
Don't you think he's got to at this point?
Yeah, I would if I were him.
It's his career.
Yeah,
it is.
It's my career on the line. I'm saying, get me the hell out of here.
If they have no use for me, trade me.
Yeah,
exactly. And also remember the restaurant last year that made that sign.
Yeah, right.
And he went in there and confronted him. Like, come on.
Yeah, so he's a guy, Tepper, that you can push the buttons of and get him to do something stupid.
And he's done that plenty of times.
He really has. That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy, and that's NFL Storylines heading into Week 3. Coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line.
Yo-ho.
314.
Weekend yo-ho.
There it is. 314-399-9646. 314-399.
That's
yo-ho. We've got Take It or Leave It next on 101 ESPN.
don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Dan, Matthew, Randy, the opening drive, 101 ESPN in St. Louis. And it's time for Take It or Leave It. Okay, kids, this morning, the flash, apparently official, the Philadelphia 76ers have signed Joel Embiid, 30-year-old Joel Embiid, to a 3-year contract worth $192.9 million. Over the last 5 seasons, Embiid has played 39, 66, 68, 51, and 51 games. He's never played 82. Before that, 64, 63, 31. So the most he's played is 68. In this past season, 23-24, he played in 39 games. Take it or leave it, you would have signed Embiid to that contract.
Ooh, I think I would leave it just because of the injuries and staying healthy.
I'm going to take it because he's a potential MVP, and if I can keep him healthy, then...
But you got to keep him healthy.
Got to keep him healthy. Got to keep him on the floor. But you know what? If he does, then he's one of the best big men in the game. I would do that. I would keep it. Or take it.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it because I don't think that you can win a championship with him because of his fragility.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. But to your point, Dan, is that if he is healthy, he can help your team out a lot. But keeping him healthy is the big portion of this. Do you think? But I'm not shocked anymore by these NBA contracts.
Oh, no, the money's unbelievable.
No.
Matthew, what do you think, by the way? Embiid, you give him 192 over 3?
Yeah, I mean, the list of guys who have won an MVP while leading the league in scoring, while also that scoring lead being over 30 points in the last 40 years, I think, is Michael Jordan and him. And so, like, it's just, the guy does incredible things. Obviously, you have to build a roster that, if he does get injured, can maybe withstand a loss for, like, a finals game 4, so you don't go down 3-1 or something like that. That's kind of like the scenario that you're staring in the face when you roll with him. But, I mean, when you're the 76ers, it's not that easy to acquire talent in the NBA. So if you have them already in the house, you give them the contract and you roll the dice. That's your best chance.
And the signing money in the NBA is monopoly money. Like the NFL, too. It's unbelievable.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing to them whatsoever. All right. So the other day, Big City had his retirement ceremony. Congratulations to Matt Adams. And he says that he wants to be a major league manager one day. Take it or leave it. The Cardinals will add him to the coaching staff for next season.
Been thinking about this. I don't think that'll happen. He'll have to be a year or two out, and it may be with a different organization.
And my hope would be that as the Cardinals move forward, that they bring in more seasoned coaches. I'm willing to leave it. I would, if he's a coach within the organization, I think that would be a really good thing. But I think the Cardinals need to get more guys, more players, established major league players that are willing to go down and spend some time learning how to coach in the minors.
And I think maybe an invite to spring training. I think that would be something that is on the table. So you could, he's not far removed from being a player, and then see how it really works from the coaching side of things, be in those meetings. That would make some sense to me.
Yeah.
All right, here is the list of former Rams that'll be at the celebration of the greatest show on turf. Tony Simikaitis, who heads up the game presentation of the Cardinals, has got really a neat ceremony before the game on Saturday. So here's a list of guys. If you're heading down to the ballpark, get there early. Mike Martz, Mike Jones, Troy Pelchak, Jay Williams, Lionel Barnes, Adam Timmerman, Mike Rudidoria, Ryan Tucker, Cameron Spikes, Andy McCollum, Tom Newton, Mike Horan, Clifton Crosby, Tony Horn, Ernie Conwell. The list goes on and on. Ricky Prohl, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Falk. Take it or leave it. The loudest ovation will be for the Reverend Isaac Bruce.
I'll take that.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
I think so, too.
He's so involved still in the community. Not that the other guys don't do that as well. And, Randy, you know how much work that a lot of those guys still do here in St. Louis. But especially Isaac Bruce, he makes sure that he comes back and visits often. And I mentioned this the other day. I just remember his Hall of Fame speech where he specifically mentioned St. Louis and the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah.
Tony Simikaitis and those guys and gals do a great job with the game presentation.
Yeah,
the product on the field has been tough this year, but you go down to the ballpark, you'll still enjoy what they present.
Yeah, and with Isaac having the gala tonight in downtown St. Louis, it's cool that the Cardinals have partnered with him to celebrate the 25-year anniversary.
I wish you were emceeing that. I wish you were emceeing the celebration at the ballpark. You'd be the perfect guy for that. No doubt about it.
I appreciate that very much. All right, Matthew, what do you got on the text line?
Well, no one knows more about these guys than you do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Jimmy Thomas.
Oh, yeah, JT's pretty good. All right, sorry, Matthew.
Take it or leave it. The Blues finish with more than 95 points.
That's a nice over-under. I'm going to take it. I'm going to say they finished with 96.
How much did they finish with last season? I'm trying to remember.
89, maybe 91, something like that.
90.
I'm going to take it because I think Jordan Binnington in the prime of his
last year.
92?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I will take it. It was over 90. Was that the question?
95.
Oh, 95.
Jordan Binnington, prime of his career, will have an excellent year, and he will guide this Blues team, this Blues squad, into postseason play.
And Joel Hofer. They were a great tandem last year.
Yep. Can't forget Joel.
Yeah, last year, the Knights were the 8th seed with 98 points. So I'm going to say that, they eclipse. I'm going to say the Blues are a 100-point team here this year. They're going to be in the playoffs.
Take it.
Take it or leave it. Rushing quarterbacks are overrated due to the lack of success in winning Super Bowls. I think Doug Williams' eyes just twitched somewhere.
Why?
I'm just joking. I'm just making a joke.
Oh. So I'm going to leave that because the game has changed. Now, for a long time, yes, the drop back quarterback was the guy, and Tom Brady won 7. But I don't think that we can say that Patrick Mahomes isn't a running quarterback.
He is.
Yeah, he's a scrambling running quarterback.
Do you draw the difference between a scrambling quarterback and a running quarterback?
Yes, there is a difference. Because running quarterbacks, I think you actually have designed plays for them to run the ball.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe there are a lot of those for Kansas City.
How about Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I was going to say
Kyler Murray will never win a Super Bowl.
You don't think so?
But he's a running quarterback.
He's a running quarterback.
Yeah.
6'1"?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar, he's a running quarterback that can throw it. He's a unicorn. He's different.
Dual
Yeah.
threat.
Nothing else about Kyler Murray's game is different, but he's 6'2". Does he win a Super Bowl?
No, because he doesn't play within a scheme. He runs around back there too much. He's a wee lad.
Josh Allen's a running quarterback.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Yeah. And
The guy led the league in touchdowns last year.
What's his
led his
record in
team in
Super
rushing
Bowls?
a bunch. I'm just saying, would you say that Josh Allen's game just qualifies him from ever winning a Super Bowl?
Yeah, he's not overrated. Josh Allen's really, really good.
Arizona has Detroit this weekend. Detroit favored by 3, by the way. You're going to see plenty of scrambling by Kyler Murray because Aiden Hutchinson is on the field.
He'll be running down, yeah.
He's having an unbelievable year already.
Yeah, then the Cardinals have Washington after that. 2 winnable games.
Yep. Absolutely.
Take it or leave it. Dodgers lose in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to take that.
You don't think they'll be able to do it with all the money that they've spent?
I think both the Phillies and Padres are better.
I love the Padres bullpen. I think that's going to be the difference maker in postseason play. It seems like starters just don't go deep in the regular season, but especially in the playoffs, and their bullpen is loaded, so that would give them an edge over a lot of teams.
Did you see the Manny Machado home run the other night?
I did.
Ooh, that was nuts.
And, yeah, the total swagger, just stands at home plate and looks into the dugout and then gives it as a team, they're feeling it. And you know what? You can see the Mike Schilt personality with that team.
By the way, Manny Machado is the all-time home run leader in Padres history already.
Jesus. Wow.
He's already the top guy. Yeah, that happened in a hurry.
I think that I will take it. But question for you guys, to that point with the Dodgers, they have all the things, as we mentioned the other day, they will be getting some of their arms back, so they're getting healthy at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it feel like is missing from them?
Not a lot.
No,
but when you're talking about maybe them missing the playoffs or losing a game in the playoffs, not missing the playoffs, but losing a game in the playoffs, what feels like they don't have that little piece that gets them over the edge?
I will stack up any 2 Dodgers starting pitchers against Wheeler and Nola, and I would take Wheeler and Nola.
I'm with you. They're just studs.
Yeah.
And postseason experience, had plenty of that.
Yep. Swing and miss in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So I think that's the big thing is starting pitching. And I believe Darvish will be back Musgrove is already back. Darvish has dealt with personal issues, but he's so thankful of the way he's been treated by the Padres. It wouldn't surprise me if Darvish is a game one starter for the Padres in the playoffs.
That bullpen is really good.
Really good.
Really good.
That game is over after 5.
Yep.
With the Padres bullpen.
Take it or leave it. Young couples in love in St. Louis now have something they haven't had in 30 years. The ability to schedule weddings in October.
Totally take it. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, take it.
What happens if you're
40
also
years.
a Mizzou fan? You're a Cardinals fan, Mizzou fan.
Yeah.
Are you still scheduling it?
Maybe not.
Blues fan?
Yeah, you got a bye week next week. You have to look at these things.
You have to really,
Yeah.
maneuver this scheduling-wise for your wedding.
Right, but it's more than 40 years because you have to go back to 81 when they had the best record in the division. Then you win the World Series in 82, pennants in 85 and 87. Then in the 90s, obviously, you had that. And even in 89 on Labor Day, the Cardinals were in it and you didn't know. So then you go move into the 90s, and the first part of that decade wasn't bad, but everything from 96 on was cool. And then from 2000 until now, you could have reasonably expected that the Cardinals, as you scheduled a wedding, you could have thought, oh, you know what, we better not do it because the Cardinals might be in the playoffs.
And now you can get away with it, though. You got your games on the phone. So if you need, you do the nuptials, and then all of a sudden, you're in the back of the limo watching a game.
So I have the Spectrum app. I still have Spectrum, and I have the Spectrum app on my phone, and I can watch Bally wherever the heck I want. And I don't need to worry about the Bally app and the Cardinals on the Bally app. I can just watch my Spectrum app, and it's great.
Randy, you're at your Hall of Fame ceremony watching Thursday Night Football. For God's sakes, we know you're going to find the game.
I guess it was my phone. Yeah, but I was watching. I was watching the Ravens and the Chiefs.
Yeah, you can't miss that.
Why did they schedule it though on the first night of Thursday Night Football? That's the thing.
Great question,
Sports
Brooke.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Nobody knows why. Thank you, Matthew. And thanks very much for your text. We do appreciate them. Coming up, we've got our fresh take. Should the Cardinals pick up the options on their veteran starting pitchers? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
These top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
I think Cardinals have to bring him back. He's incredibly valuable. He wants the ball. His mentality is valuable. You want someone like that in a rotation. I think someone like Lance is important to have kind of with the troops as the Cardinals try to bring this approach, which I got to tell you, the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs. It's not because of the starting pitching idea of bringing in these veterans who want to go deeper into games. That worked. The lineup didn't. They didn't hit. The veterans they brought in to be in that rotation actually panned out. So bring it back, run it back with that rotation, and I think the Cardinals will like the idea.
That's MLB Network's Greg Amsinger yesterday with us on 101 ESPN, talking about Lance Lynn, whose season is over. He's been placed back on the IL with a knee injury, finished the season 7-4 with a 3.84 earned run average, and among his 23 starts, the starts that he made at home, the Cardinals were 11-2, so he wasn't as impressive on the road. The Cardinals hold a $10 million option on Lance Lynn and a $12 million option on Kyle Gibson. They also have Sonny Gray under contract. He's going to make $35 million next year. They have Miles Michaelis under contract. They have Eric Fetty under contract. They have Steven Matz under contract. And they have Andre Palante. So the question is, with all of these starting pitchers, do the Cardinals need or should they pick up the options for Lynn and or Gibson? I look at the leadership ability of those two pitchers, and I say that's really important. I believe if the Cardinals are going to be able to pick up the options on one or both, and you can never have too much starting pitching. Let's preface my statement with this. But I think the Cardinals would need to find a way to remove Miles Michaelis from the equation if they're going to be able to pick up one of those options.
I think that that's the big key part there, because I'm in the camp, though, of you got to figure out what you have with your younger players. We've only been able to see a little bit of Michael McGreevy, but I like what I've seen in the few appearances, just the 2 appearances we've seen from him where he's only given up 1 earned run. I want to know what you have with these younger pitchers, because they're also not getting any younger. What will eventually happen with McGreevy? What will happen with Gordon Graceffo? Will Zach Thompson be back in the conversation for next season? Will Quinn Matthews be able to advance and maybe make the team next season? I want to have an opportunity available for these younger pitchers. Now, if you are able to offload those contracts, if you're mentioning a Steven Matz or maybe even a Miles Michaelis, then I say, yeah, go pick up the options for one of those guys, either Lynn or Gibson. I'm in more of the camp of Gibson, not taking away anything. They both have done as expected or maybe even better than expected this season for the Cardinals. They've been able to provide what you expected, being the innings eaters that we talked about going into the year. They provided veteran leadership. I just don't think that you would need both of them going into next season.
And Dan, I felt like Lynn the other night. That felt like a retirement game to me.
It sure did.
It did.
And he's 37, bulky knee. I'm going to bring back one, probably not both. And you mentioned some of the young guys here, Brooke, with McGreevy, Graceffo, Palante still needs seasoning in that rotation. And the interesting one to me is Quinn Matthews, who now has 200-plus strikeouts this season in the minor leagues, and he's jumped a bunch of levels. You look at Kyle Gibson, it projects out to about 170 innings. He's going to give up probably under 160 hits, 87 runs, 20, 21 home runs. He has been what you thought. And, you talk to people down with the Cardinals, and they said, to me at least, he's been unbelievable inside that dugout when he's not pitching and what he's meant to the younger guys. The other part of this, too, if I can save 10 to 12 million on one of these options, I got to allocate it to offense. I mean, the offense was at times terrible this year. Last night, only 6 hits. We mentioned that, and they had 4 by Donovan. I'm looking at upgrading my offense in any possible way I can. And if that means I got to say goodbye to one of my veterans, then so be it. I got to do it, if not both. But I would bring one of them back, and it'd probably be Kyle Gibson.
And I wonder what the Cardinals do, and I know this sounds silly, But where do you put the bat? Where do you get a bat? Because if you're bringing Goldie back, and I was down at the ballpark yesterday, and it sounds for all the world like the Cardinals are going to do everything they can to bring Goldie back within the parameters of a reasonable contract. But you've got Donovan. He's going to be your second baseman. You've got Wynn. You've got Arenado. You've got Contreras. You're looking at an outfielder then.
That's left field.
It's almost impossible to find an offensively productive center fielder these days. We don't know what they think of. Well, we do know what they think of Jordan Walker, but have they moved towards maybe moving him so that they could get somebody else? Or do you prepare him to become your first baseman in the future? So, left field. Okay, so
I got another spot too.
Yeah, because
DH maybe.
Okay.
Because then I got to commit to Contreras being my catcher.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
so
that's the big
DH could open up that spot.
And then do you keep Pages? Do you keep Ivan Herrera? Because also we've seen them utilized, well, especially Herrera as a DH. He has the ability to do that. And then what happens with Nolan Gorman? I mean, there's a lot of log jams.
And Burleson.
Oh, yeah.
You've got 3 left-handed hitters.
And Ciani. And I mean, it's just like the list goes on and on and on. I think it would be really important, to your point, Randy, is figuring out, you have to this offseason. I'm hoping that those plans are already starting and it's in motion, committing to these players and giving them defined roles. It feels like we talked about that a lot last year, but having those defined roles going into the season where you really know what is expected out of these players instead of just constantly moving people around.
What do you guys think? How about this? DH or first base? And I know it's not exactly what you need, but it's kind of what you need. But how about trying to make a move for Vladimir Guerrero?
He'd be one of the guys on my list. The Blue Jays have said they're going to at least run it back with the crew that they have. But if they run into problems or if you're looking to be very aggressive, he'd be one of the guys. I think you can make a move like the Dodgers did with Teoscar Hernandez. Find one of those. They did the veteran pitching staff. Why not find a veteran hitter that you're not going to have to pay a ton of money to, but you think can be productive? I think you dip your toes into those waters and see what maybe you come up with. But, man, you're banking a lot on Jordan Walker. You're banking a lot on Nolan Gorman. You're banking a lot on Alec Burleson being the kind of players that you think they can be. But if they're not, then you're stuck back to what you saw this year offensively.
It feels like that the Cardinals might need to make some moves this offseason, right? We're talking about a lot about what needs to change in the front office. But if we're looking particularly with the starting rotation, even the positional players, it seems like some moves will need to be made.
Well, you can't run it back.
No.
Didn't work.
No.
Your team around 500. So how you address it is going to be the interesting part of this.
And within the scope of probably slashing payroll by about $50 million.
Could happen, yeah.
So if you cut $20 million from Goldschmidt and you don't pick up Lynn's option, you're up to 30 there. Genesis Cabrera was like almost 7. So that gets you up to 37. And then here's my thing with Michaelis. People say, well, trade Michaelis. You would have to give $15 million to somebody to take Miles Michaelis because another team's going to say, well, I can get that out of a $5 million starter. So I can sign this year's Michael Pineda or something like that.
And the other part of this, too, is what do you do with Ryan Helsley? Now, you could attach a contract to Helsley if somebody wants him that badly, which I'm sure a lot of teams would say, man, I'm looking for that shutdown closer. And I know a lot of teams look at closing now and kind of plug and play, but you want to win your games. I mean, he's been a part of about 90% of your wins, something like that. And he may set the all-time record in saves in a single season for the Cardinals. I don't know. If you're a team out there and you want him that badly, maybe you attach a contract to Ryan Helsley.
Yeah, that might be. By the way, another salary off the books, and I was incorrect about Gallegos. He was at 5.7, but I forgot about Tommy Edman. He was up for 4.4 this year and next, so that's a pretty significant amount. Paul DeYoung was paid $3 million by the Cardinals this year. Talk about wasting money. Brandon Crawford got $2 million from the Cardinals this year. Carlson got 1.6. So there's other ancillary money that's coming off the books. But you also have Helsley going up, other arbitration eligibles. So if you want to cut $50 million, it's going to be a puzzle.
John on the YouTube chat, he's bringing up a name that, remember, was out there during the trade deadline. And you mentioned an outfield bat, maybe even a DH. You know who is a name that's out there?
Who's
Brent
that?
Rooker.
Am I sold on Brent Rooker? No. and he's been great for the 2 years with the A's. He's been great, but I don't believe, this is just my personal opinion, I don't bring in Brent Rooker and say, okay, there's the answer offensively.
I don't either. I'm not sold on him yet. He's had a hell of a year, but I'm not sold on him yet.
Yeah.
Just not yet.
Yeah. So, and he would be a nice complementary piece, but he's not. When Brent Rooker is on your team or in the middle of your lineup, I'm not saying, he's not that guy.
They got to get creative.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're saying here. They're going to have to get creative, and I think they will. They have the one thing that's interesting about it. I know we need to run to a break, and we're going to visit with Joey. They played so many one-run games, so many tight games this year. Is there a player or two that gets you over the hump in some of those games? And I know Fangraphs will come out with it, and after the season is done, and say, if you did this, address this, there's a chance that you could have been here. And they're doing the same thing. The front office has been looking at ways to get creative already for this next offseason and putting numbers together and combinations together. So it is going to be interesting to see what they do.
I don't know. I think Brent Rooker could be that guy that could get him over the hump.
That'd be scary, man. I would not count on that. So he has put up good numbers, but he's never done it in a winning situation.
Not yet.
Yeah. So and what do you give up? How much better is Brent Rooker going to be than Nolan Gorman?
Yeah, we're going back to the same thing.
Yeah.
You're counting on Walker and Gorman being two of your mainstays in the middle of the lineup, and if they're not, then it's another long season.
Yep. Joe Vitale next on 101 ESPN. Brooke, Dan, and Randy, and Joey V joins us as he does every Friday morning. Blues training camp is underway. Joey V, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, Randy and gang, doing wonderful. Thanks for asking.
We're excited to have you with us. How'd your run go this morning?
No run this morning. My wife's out of town. So I'm taking over. I'm complete daddy daycare for the whole week. She's actually in Toronto with my son Harper for hockey. So I'm just trying to bounce around, just trying to be that ninja dad where I'm trying to get it all done, and it's failing at every corner.
I was going to say, you're trying to bounce around. It sounds like more you're trying to survive.
Yeah, it is. It's really just about expectations. I've learned, as I get wiser. I'm approaching 40 here relatively quickly. And, I used to think about, healthy lunches and, making sure they're staying off the tablets. And at the end of the day, as most dads will tell you, it's really just about keeping these things alive. And then if you keep them alive, I mean, when you think about it, thousands of years ago, dads would go to bed at night in their caves and they would count 3 heads, and they had 3 kids, and everyone's breathing, and that's a good day. Because no one died. Because you figure all the famines and the saber-tooth tigers are going to get somebody. And you know what? You should wipe goodnight at night. And, hey, honey, 3 breathing kids. High five. Let's get some shots. Now did they get their protein? Are they excelling in school? Is so-and-so going to get into high school? Just too many expectations. So I'm trying to internalize my inner caveman and just keep these things alive.
It's the ultimate old school.
I like how you say these things alive. And you mentioned there, you're an outdoorsman, Joey. Like, is there anything that you're doing to just train your kids where they could handle the outdoors and survive outside if they needed to?
One thing I've been doing, Brooke, I've been letting them drive the car. Like, my older ones have been driving a lot more lately. So we'll go to a parking lot near Kirkwood, and I'm trying to get them used to this idea of driving, because again, you never know what that's going to essentially look like. But the other thing aside from the driving side of things is, building fire. We've been building a lot of fires. We have an outdoor fire pit. So I've been teaching them how to build fires. That's kind of backfired on me because now they're lighting candles up all over the house. I'll come home from being gone and there's like candles in the bathroom and there's candles and everywhere. And my daughter's 13. She's supposed to be watching everybody. And you come home and she's like, hey, welcome back. And the lights are all off and there's literally candles all over the house. So, of course, that kind of freaks you out that the house is going to burn down at some point. But, again, at the end of the day, it goes back to that. Everyone's alive. So they're playing with fire and everyone's still breathing.
Joey, I got a hockey question for you, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see. Yesterday, Dvorsky centering Shen and Neighbors. Bolduc skating with Thomas and Kyrou. Obviously, that's by design. Did you see anything with those guys, and how did they look?
So Bolduc has looked, I would say he's been my bright spot so far. Now, he was in that prospect camp. And you know what? Some would argue that, he's supposed to be. He's a few years older than a lot of the prospects in that tournament last weekend, Dan. But you know what? Still at the same time, you do need to shine. I thought he was one of the best players throughout prospect camp. But then you turn it into main camp, which was yesterday. Again, I really liked his game. I really liked him. I like the way he's moving. There's certain tendencies you look for in players, like where's his confidence level at? The coach blows a whistle, they line up for the drill, and, who's first in line? There was one drill, Zach Bolduc was first in line. Again, that's just a comfort level thing. That's like a thing saying, hey, I'm coming in here to make a team. A lot of times young players that have only played a handful of games like Bolduc, they kind of like to hang towards the back and just kind of feel their way in, and especially the new guys, get to the back and just try to blend in and just try to take a step this year. To me, Zachary Bolduc, what he did last year, I believe he had 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points in a handful of games. He's got a great shot. He's very confident. He had a lot of discussions last year with Braden Shen about shooting the puck more. I think with how good his shot is, they didn't like that he was dusting it off a lot and pass. And Braden Shen took him aside and said, listen, I know you're new to this league and I've been around a long time, but if I'm going to play with you, you better start shooting the puck. Because when you start shooting the puck, everything else opens up. And he started doing that. He started getting his points. And now he's had a great summer. He looks great. So he's in a really good spot. To me, Dan, I think Zachary Bolduc is going to find a way to be in that top 6 on the wing on one of those top 2 lines. And then you mentioned Braden Shen. This has been kind of the big thing. The big storyline to me was Braden Shen moving to the wing. He's been a natural center his whole life. He is getting up there in age. They do want to play with a lot more pace. Can he keep up with that pace? At times, yes, but through 82 games, I don't know if he can. So they're starting to kind of get him used to the wing, which, of course, he's okay with. And then Buchnevich is going to be now in the middle. And I talked to Pavel yesterday or 2 days ago at Content Day at Centene, asked him about the contract, asked him about how that negotiation was. He said a couple small things. It was very quick. You know, his agent, and Doug Armstrong, they all got on a big call together in the summer. Within days, it was done. He was so happy to do it. And one question that the Blues did ask Pavel Buchnevich was, will you be willing to play center? And they asked him that because in the last couple of years, when he has played center, it's not his most comfortable position. He was drafted as a centerman for the Rangers, but he's played wing his whole NHL career. He feels comfortable, especially with the Robert Thomas in the middle. They started moving him to center the last couple of seasons, and, his game has fallen off a little bit at times, but the team was winning. The winning percentage with him in center is better than when he's at the wing, which is kind of surprising to me. So they flat out asked him in the negotiation this summer, hey, I know you don't love playing center like you'd love playing wing, but how do you feel about playing center? And you have to love Pavel Buchnevich's answer, which he told me was, I told Doug Armstrong, I just want to win. I just want to win. Whatever that looks like, put me there. And, of course, the Blues responded, heard it, understood it. They feel like they're a stronger team with him down the middle, so I think that's where we're going to see him start this year.
Hey, Joey, when a team brings in a bunch of new players like the Blues have with Texier and obviously the two Edmonton guys, Broberg and Holloway, and you've got people that haven't played an awful lot, like we mentioned Bolduc earlier, Dvorsky, Dean. As a media guy, I always wonder about chemistry. Do I overrate that at this level, when you're good enough to play in the NHL? How much does it take to develop chemistry as a team?
To me, there's many levels of chemistry, Randy, and of course you've seen it throughout all kinds of sports. There's team chemistry. I mean, if you don't know what team chemistry looks like, that's the hardest one to achieve, right? Because that's the final. That's like the chalice at the end of Indiana Jones. That's like the ultimate prize. But there are a lot of steps of chemistry to get to that ultimate team chemistry. The best example for Blues fans, out there listening right now, would be that 19 Stanley Cup team. Even if let's say they lose that Game 7, the Boston Bruins. I mean, to me, they still figured out what team chemistry is. Now, team chemistry starts with the individual. It builds into your particular D pairings. You looked at the way Petro and Bouwmeester were working together. The lines of Thomas, Bozak, Maroon as another example. So then it goes from pairings, then it goes to lines, then it goes to the coaches conveying messages, and then everyone's got that buy-in, which of course then becomes the leadership of making sure that message gets across, and it's the whole team. So at this point in the game, Randy, with camp and new players, I think what they're looking for is that individual and pairing chemistry. Whether it be, let's look at a Holloway with whoever he ends up with, or Broberg, for example. Is Justin Falk going to find one of these new guys and find a little chemistry with a Joseph, for example? And they're just kind of looking for that partner-to-partner chemistry, or maybe pair-to-pair chemistry, to see what that looks like. You talk so much about pairings as defensemen, but this team is really big on pairings as forwards. And I know there's a line of three forwards, but they really like, let's say, the Thomas and Kyrou pair. What winger can find that chemistry with that pair, because they already have it established, and then you begin to build. Same thing when you look at a Jake Neighbors and a Braden Shen, for example. For a while, they're a great pair, and they're very, very strong together. What additional piece now can add to that pair and kind of amplify their game? So I think that's where camp is at. That's why you play the preseason games, and you continue to build from there. And, every now and then you'll find a little magic with a line, and then one line turns into two. And then ultimately, if you try to figure out a way to build it to now every team's got multiple lines and multiple pairs that are going with a hot goaltender, and that's success. And that's how you win games. But I love not only the pieces they brought in, I think such an underrated part of bringing new players in, which I think Doug Armstrong did a great job of. You bring in veteran players who have, more importantly, playoff experience. You look at those two Edmonton boys, playing in the Game 7 Stanley Cup final. I can't tell you what that does for your confidence, your approach to the game. Not only you as individuals for those two players, but now they come into a locker room where, hey, these guys have been places playing with the best player in the world. There's a level of respect and understanding there. You look at Ryan Suter. Yeah, he hasn't won a Stanley Cup yet, but look at the playoff runs he's been on. Radek Faksa, been to the Stanley Cup final, been to multiple conference finals. I mean, that type of veteran leadership, veteran presence in this locker room was something I think they really, really needed from last year. I think last year you looked at how close they came. I think if you were to rewind to March when they were that kind of playing, in and out with Nashville, so close to the very end. I think if you have a Radek Faksa, I think if you have a Ryan Suter, guys that have been there, done that, I think you're one piece away possibly from kind of getting in and sneaking in last year.
That leads me to this question. Has it sped up in your mind the retool of what they're trying to do, meaning that this could be a playoff team this year?
Yeah, Dan, it's a great question. And to me, this is not a retool anymore. We're not a retool. We're not a reconfigure. We're not a anything. I mean, this is a team built to win hockey games. This is a team it was built to get into the playoffs. I think, Dan, if you were to ask me that question, mid-July, end of July, I would say, yeah, this is still kind of a team that they're going to let the Bull Dukes get wet. They're going to let the Robert Thomases continue to thrive. Braden Shen's going to try to figure out more and more this leadership role. It's going to be a little bit of a situation where it's ongoing, but I think everything changed in August. I think this was probably the most exciting, busiest off-season August the Blues have had in quite some while. You look at the offer sheets, you look at some of the pieces they brought in, and this is now a whole new team. That offer sheet to those two Edmonton boys, to me, that's really what kind of put this over the top, that we're no longer a team in transition. Yes, we are always learning. Yes, young players are going to get better and better, but that's every team. Every team has young players who are looking to get better. Every team has veteran guys that are looking to take that next step in that leadership role. So that to me is a wash. This is a team that, if you don't make the playoffs at the end of this year, it's another disappointing year. So when we're sitting here in April, and if we were to be exactly where we were last year, saying, man, we were close, just a couple of games out, to me, based off how Doug Armstrong built this team, that would be a disappointment.
You ready for a broadcast tomorrow night?
Buddy, I can't wait. I've been thinking about it. All summer, right? I mean, nothing compares with going to Dallas on the opening preseason game. It always brings me back to my very first game I called, because that was also in Dallas, where Big Walt asked me right before I got on my first game. This is 7 years ago, preseason game in Dallas, where we'll be tomorrow night. He said, "How you doing?" I go, Walt, I'm not going to lie. I've never done it before. I'm a little nervous. And he, of course, gave me great advice. He said, "Don't worry about it. No one's listening anyway." But you know what? To be fair, that was on the AM station. Now I'm on the FM dial, which we talked about. There's a lot more listeners, so now I am going to be a little bit nervous tomorrow.
Don't be nervous. You'll be awesome.
So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the conversation as always. Love your guys' show, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you guys all.
Should be fun. And Joey, we'll see you at the rink. Take care.
Sounds great.
See you. Joey Vitale with us on 101 ESPN.
I like what he said about Booch.
Me too.
Yeah. Accepting that
just
idea. Yeah, just want to win. Accepting the idea to move to center. And, makes sense with the kind of talent that they have. He's going to be the guy in probably second-line center, I would guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he should be pretty good there.
The fight is coming your way next. We had a winner yesterday, so we will have another edition of the fight next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals fail to finish the sweep off against the Pirates. They will start a series against the Guardians tonight. It'll be Kyle Gibson on the mound facing off against Ben Lively for Cleveland. But the big news in baseball last night was the historic evening from Shohei Ohtani as he passes the 50-50 mark for the first time in Major League Baseball history. And to do it, he went 6 for 6 with 10 RBIs, 3 home runs, and 2 stolen bases. He finishes with 51 and 51. Also last night, Thursday Night Football, the Jets smother in the Patriots 24-3. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent Megaton heating and air conditioning dealer.
Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rockio here, and it is time for the fight. And we have a returning fighter today. It's Jack. Jack, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, guys.
I know you were nervous yesterday, but do you feel a little bit better today?
Beating Randy in a 1-1 tiebreaker is, I'm on borrowed time, so anything is a way forward.
Are you ready for question number 1?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go, Jack. With question number 1. Last night, Shohei Ohtani created the 50-50 Club 35 years after the creation of the 40-40 Club. Who was the originator of that club? Was it Eric Davis, Howard Johnson, or Jose Canseco?
You repeat the options?
Eric Davis, Howard Johnson, or Jose Canseco?
I'll take Eric Davis.
Is that your final answer, Jack?
That's my final answer.
Question 2. Starting in the 90s, each decade in college football has seen one team win back-to-back national titles. Georgia in the 2020s, Alabama in the 2010s, USC in the aughts. Which team started the trend winning consecutive titles in the 90s? Was it Miami, Nebraska, or Florida State?
I'll take Nebraska.
Final answer?
Final answer.
On to question 3.
All right. Who was the first underclassman, sophomore or below, to win the Heisman Trophy? Was it Mark Ingram, Sam Bradford, or Tim Tebow?
Mark Ingram. Hold on. I'm not for sure on that one. What are the? It's Sam Bradford, Tim Tebow, Mark Ingram?
Yes.
Sam Bradford.
I like how for a minute there you almost combined all the names.
Yeah, if I say all of them, I get them all right. I'm trying to Randy this, so I go through everything with some logic, but I'm not doing great.
Last night, Aaron Rodgers threw his first ever touchdown pass to a first-round wide receiver. The only other first-rounder to catch a TD pass from Rodgers is tight end Mercedes Lewis, who was drafted in the first round all the way back in 2006. Which team drafted him? Was it the Bears, the Chargers, or the Jaguars?
Actually, the Jaguars.
All right, let me go grab Randall, Jack.
How are you feeling?
You know what? I think I got one right. When we got to football, I felt a little better, so we'll see.
Yeah, you said yesterday that you're a big football fan. NFL, college football, both?
Both. Now, that question with the 90s, a little past my time, so that was kind of a shot in the dark.
Oh, okay. When were you born?
2003, so...
2003?
A little out of my range.
Oh, my gosh. You're 21, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're a baby.
Yeah, so the 90s.
Sorry, you're a grown person. It's just that in my mind, as I'm getting older, when I hear that somebody's born in 2003, my brain is still registering that you're an adult at this point.
Yeah, legally an adult.
There we go. All right, Randy is back in the room and heard all of that conversation. Randy, say hi to Jack again.
Jack, welcome back. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Good to have you with us. Thanks for listening.
He's 21.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. Are you ready for question number 1?
I am ready.
Okay. Last night, Shohei Ohtani created the 50-50 Club 35 years after the creation of the 40-40 Club. Who was the originator of that club?
It would have been Jose Canseco in 1988. So it's, 46 years, right? So, yeah. So Jose Canseco is who I'm going to go with.
Conviction on that one, Randall?
45 and 42, I believe.
That's correct.
Maybe 46 and 42. I don't know.
Are you ready for number 2?
Ready.
Starting in the 90s, each decade in college football has seen one team win back-to-back national titles.
How about that?
Georgia in the 2020s.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama in 2010s.
Okay.
USC in the aughts. Which team, though, started the trend winning consecutive titles in the 90s?
I'm going to go with the U. I'm going to go with the University of Miami, the Hurricanes.
On to question 3.
Who was the first underclassman, sophomore, or below to win the Heisman Trophy?
The first underclassman to win the Heisman Trophy was Herschel Walker, I think. I'm going to go with Herschel Walker.
Final answer.
Should I do the lifeline? I'll do the lifeline, Brooke. That's fun. That's
okay.
Sure. Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah, it's just fun.
You get to use one.
Lifelines are fun. Yeah.
Okay, here you go.
Oh, you know what? Archie Griffin was ahead of Herschel Walker. But give me the lifeline anyway.
Okay, you still want the lifeline?
Yeah. I'll do the lifeline anyway.
Okay.
Because Archie Griffin won too. Yeah, so Archie Griffin was ahead of Herschel. Okay, so give me the lifeline anyway.
Mark Ingram, Sam Bradford, or Tim Tebow?
Well, Archie Griffin won too, so it was Archie Griffin. Right? He would have had to have won as a junior because you can't win 2 unless you're an underclassman. So give me those 3 again.
Mark Ingram, Sam Bradford, or Tim Tebow?
Yeah, Matthew, what's wrong?
Read the question again, please.
Okay. Who was the first underclassman, sophomore or below, to win the Heisman Trophy?
Or below. Ingram, Tebow, or
Bradford.
I am going to go with Sam Bradford.
Final answer?
Yeah, because I think Tebow was a junior when he won. He stayed in school for his senior year. Sam.
Okay. Last night, Aaron Rodgers threw his first ever touchdown pass to a first-round wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
The only other first-rounder to catch TD passes from Rodgers is a tight end, Mercedes Lewis, who was drafted in the first round all the way back in 2006.
Ooh, he's old.
Yeah, he is. Who drafted him?
I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Also known as the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, that's who I'm going with.
Jacksonville. I like that better.
Do you want to ride in my Mercedes, boy? Mercedes Lewis. That means he's elevating people. That means that A-Rod is elevating those around him.
We got to go to tiebreaker. You know the rules from yesterday, Jack. Randy knows the rules as well. Randy, do you have your paper?
Not yet.
Okay.
Hold on.
Jack, the rules, of course, from yesterday. I'm going to read out the question. We're going to give Randy Carricker a moment to write down his answer. Once he shows us the answer, we will get your answer audibly. We will confirm Randy Carricker's answer, and then whoever is closest to the pin is walking away with as the winner of today's fight into the weekend. Randy Carricker, do you have your paper ready?
I do. I have my Lindenwood paper.
All right. Across his 3 Super Bowls played, how many total yards did Kurt Warner pass for? Across his 3 Super Bowls played, how many total yards did Kurt Warner pass for?
Hold on. Carry the 1. Let's see. 8, 16. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I got mine.
Okay.
Are those the same? Is that 2 numbers, then 2 numbers, then
yes,
the same? Okay,
yeah.
I just want to double check really quickly.
Yeah.
Jack, what is your answer, sir?
952.
952 is Jack's answer. Randy Carricker, what is your answer?
My answer was 1166.
All right. We have a winner in today's fight. Does Jack roll on to a Monday Hall of Fame opportunity, or does Randy Carricker stop him in his tracks here before the weekend? Ring that Bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis. With the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Nicely played, Jack, but unfortunately, Kurt Warner passed for 1,156 yards across his 3 Super Bowl games. 14-14, 365, and 377. He also threw 63% completion, had 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in those 3 games. Jack, you did a great job. You tied Randy Carricker 2-2, but he did get you in the tiebreaker.
All right, well, great game. Go Lions this weekend.
Go Lions. Thanks, Jack.
Great job, Jack. Impressive job over the fight the last 2 days. Last night, Shohei created the 50-50 Club. It was Jose Canseco who created the 40-40 Club. Ripped the bag right out of the ground when he did it.
I think that might have been Ricky Henderson.
Was it Ricky? I thought Jose did the same thing.
Jose did the same thing.
Second base.
He ripped second base out of the ground. Starting in the 90s, each decade in college football has seen one team with back-to-back national titles. Georgia in the 2020s, Bama in the 10s, USC in the aughts, and it was Nebraska in the middle of the 90s who actually was the back-to-back winners in college football. The first underclassman, sophomore below, to win the Heisman Trophy was actually a run on sophomores begun by Tim Tebow, who stayed in college for his junior and his senior year after winning the Heisman. Finished 3rd and 5th his junior and senior year. I think he was trying to match Archie Griffin winning the 2 Heismans. It went Tebow, Bradford, Ingram, 3 straight sophomores in a row to break the record of sophomores winning it for the first time. And then eventually Johnny Manziel and Jameis Winston break the record for the freshmen. And last night, Aaron Rodgers threw his first ever touchdown pass to a first-round wide receiver. The only other first-rounder is Mercedes Lewis, who was drafted by the Jaguars in 2006.
The Jaguars.
Again to Jack and to Randy in the fight today.
All right. JR is here. Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider from The Athletic. He's going to join us to talk some Blues hockey next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Danny Mac for Stewart's American Mortgage on this Friday morning. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refi, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He joins us. Stewie, you are helping out ESPN listeners. So this is working for you, and it worked for somebody out there that listens to this station.
Yeah, that's right, Danny. What we did for our ESPN customer is incredible. They're saving, get this, $184,000. We took them from a 30-year to a 15-year loan. Payment did go up, so you have to be prepared sometimes for that. $200 a month, $192, but they saved 13 years worth of payments. This is a great way to save a lot of money. If you're interested in saving money, you're not worried about the cash flow, consider converting that loan from a 30 to a 20-year or 30 to a 15-year. The rates are lower on a 15-year. The rates are lower than on a 20-year than the 30-year. So there's a great opportunity to get way ahead of the game and save a fortune.
Man, that is outstanding. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, Stewie's going to get you to the closing table fast. How fast? Try 10 days. He'll get you the best interest rate possible, and he also has the bagel loan that can help you out too. What's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewart is your guy. Makes it easy for you. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends? fans, give Stuart a call. Call him directly. He's on his cell phone right now, 314-324-4440. Again, that number, 314-324-4440. What else can we do, Stewie?
Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Our Blues insider from The Athletic is Jeremy Rutherford. And JR, first of all, how you doing in terms of keeping those things alive at home?
Keeping them alive. That Joey, oh my goodness. Imagine being on the plane, being on the bus, sitting next to him every day. It's something else. But yeah, I'm trying to keep my things alive too, and Joey's doing probably a better job.
You guys are both doing great. That's good. Hey, what did you think of the first day of camp yesterday? What was your overriding impression?
I thought it was great. You know, I think that for Drew Bannister to come in and kind of have that first day of camp that he didn't have last year, he did a great job coming in midseason last year. And so he said yesterday, he said that we have had so much time off. You know, it's time to unpause and get to it. And they did yesterday. So 3 solid groups. I thought the lines looked good. Tried to read between the different groups and piece the lines together with my article today at The Athletic and give everybody an idea of what we think the lineup could look like when you get to October 8th against Seattle. You know, I think the pace, the intensity, like Drew Bannister said afterwards, was pretty good yesterday. Now we go back for day 2 and see what else they got.
Yeah, there's a lot to observe in training camp. And I think, of course, you know the players, the established players, what their roles will be. But it's interesting to watch young players like Dalibor Dvorsky. I know that's a name that a lot of people will be watching during training camp. And Doug Armstrong said yesterday that a lot of organizations fail young players, and we will not fail Dalibor Dvorsky. So what are they kind of doing expectation-wise to make sure that he can reach the level of what they think he has, but not putting too much pressure on him?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think yesterday what I noticed, Brooke, when talking to people about Dalibor Dvorsky is, you know, they're shy to heap the praise on him, which is totally understandable. That's the way they should handle it. So, for example, we had Braden Shen, the captain, in a scrum, 5 or 6 reporters, and somebody asked about Dvorsky, and, you know, right away he said, you know what, I haven't even seen him play. I haven't watched him play, haven't had a chance to. And then when you talk to Drew Bannister and ask him about the expectations for Dvorsky, and he said, hey, they just want to come in, put him with good players, see what he's capable of. And you guys know this. But the fact that they can send him to the American Hockey League this year, which they can't usually do with Canadian players, they can do this because he's European, he comes over. I just think that's going to be an option for them, that if it's too much for him in camp or they don't think he's quite ready, like Doug Armstrong, they're not going to put him in that type of position. So they could send him to the minors at the start of the season. And if they do, I want to tell Blues fans now, that doesn't mean this guy's not going to be a player. He's going to be a player. I know fans get caught up in where they send a guy right at the start of the season, but he could be right back up later this season.
All right, JR, biggest storylines, day 2 of camp, but just wide-ranging look at it. What are the biggest storylines?
Well, I think the one that Joey talked to you a little bit about is Zachary Bolduc. I think he's looked really good at the prospect camp, also looked good yesterday. Is he going to be able to crack that top 6 and earn himself a spot in this lineup? Because if he doesn't crack the top 6 guys, I think it's a situation where, can he play the third line? For sure, but they want to have a checking line, quick line, and I think they got some good players in the offseason with the Texiers, with the Matthew Josephs, with Foxa that can play that third line, so we'll see. Then I look to the defense, Dan. You look at that third pair yesterday, we saw that they put Ryan Suter and Matthew Kessel together, and I think that's pretty telling because they want those two to get some chemistry together. They think that Suter can be really good for Matthew Kessel. And where does Scott Buchnevich fit in this mix? If Scott Buchnevich is going to take over for Torrey Krug on the power play and be that power play quarterback, then he's got to be in that starting 6. I did ask Drew Bannister yesterday, if Buchnevich isn't in, do you have guys who can step in and be at the top on that power play? He mentioned Nick Leddy. He mentioned Justin Falk. So those are guys that if Buchnevich isn't in that lineup, they can have on that top line of the PP.
And Brooke and I were trying to figure out how things will play out in terms of the roster. They very easily could carry 8 defensemen, right, and 13 forwards?
Yeah, they really could because, especially if everybody's healthy, which, obvious, but if you have your 12 forwards, then you carry that 13th forward. And I think with these, now it's 9 defensemen on one-way contracts now that Krug's out. If you want to keep a P.O. Joseph up, if you want to keep a Scott Buchnevich, like I think they do, then you have your 8. You have to probably try to get Tyler Tucker through waivers if that's the guy that you're going to sign to the minors. But I could very well see 8 defensemen and 13 forwards to start.
We talked to, obviously, Stillman yesterday and Doug Armstrong and even the players, and you could tell that the expectations after this offseason has changed for this group because of the moves that Army made. Is it fair to say that this team should be able to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I heard your interviews. Good job yesterday. I had to get out of the car, but couldn't because I wanted to continue to listen to the interview with Stillman yesterday and Doug Armstrong. I think they're better, and they had 92 points last year, but just because they're better doesn't mean that, okay, they had 92, so that means they're going to be 95. I think that's a fair way to look at it, but it doesn't guarantee anything. And I listened to what Joey said about the retool being over. So I think that when you listen to Doug Armstrong like you guys did, he says that we need to stop talking and start doing. And I think that's probably going to be the mantra that we're going to hear this year. But I still think that this organization is in a little bit of flux, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that there's guys on this roster who aren't necessarily going to be here when the Blues get to that point in a couple years where they're true contenders. So can they be a wild card team this year? Can they make the playoffs? Of course they can. They get 96 points. I think Randy said 95, 96. Of course they can be that type of team, but you're still waiting for the Dvorskys to kind of take over, the Snuggeruds to come in. Will guys like Nick Leddy be here in a couple years and, anchoring the top pair of a team that's going to be the Blues contending team that you're looking forward to, just to use him as an example? I don't think so. So I still think they're kind of going through that retool phase, but it doesn't mean that they can't be a playoff team.
So defensively, Broberg and Parayko?
Well, I think it's going to be Leddy and Parayko. We see in camp, it's Buchnevich and Parayko. That's just because they're putting Buchnevich with, a top player, get him some key ice time. And then yesterday it was Broberg and Falk. So I think that's your second pair, in part, Dan, because Leddy and Parayko, I know the numbers weren't just super glossy, but they were pretty good last year together. They played the most 5-on-5 minutes of any defensive pair in the league. I think that chemistry that they have, the Blues are going to ride that. And then I think Broberg, which still under 100 games in the National Hockey League, is going to be in that second pair with Justin Falk. And then we'll see what happens with the third pair. I mentioned Suter and Kessel, and we'll see if Buchnevich can crack that.
When we talk about the possibility of making the playoffs, the really good teams have a game breaker. And I don't think the Blues have a guy right now that you say, okay, that's a game breaker. Is Kyrou that guy? Does he have to become that guy? Could Buchnevich be that guy? Who could be a game breaker for this franchise?
I think if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be Kyrou. I think that he's shown it at times, but I don't think, like, let's say you're going rink to rink and you're talking to some other defensive players around the league, and you say, all right, name the game breaker for me for each team that I give you. And you get to the St. Louis Blues, Randy, and you say St. Louis Blues. I don't think right off the tongue these D guys are going to say Jordan Kyrou. I think that he still needs to have that consistency and that just electric style of play where he can tie a game when you need him to, or he can give you the lead in the final 2 minutes of the game. I don't think he's quite there yet, but I think if the Blues have a guy, he's the guy who can be that. Pavel Buchnevich, I don't think he can be that game breaker either, and especially if he's playing center. And in my article yesterday, I talked to him. I asked him the question, you can score some goals playing on the wing. You scored 30 goals playing on the wing. What about when you're playing center if it limits your goal scoring? And he said, well, do you want me to score 30 and we miss the playoffs, 40 and we miss the playoffs, or do you want me to score 10 and we make the playoffs? So I don't think he has that mindset that, he's going to go in at center and be a 30, 35 goal scorer.
And by the way, Kyrou last year, 17 goals in his last 33 games. That's a 40-goal pace. He needs to do that for the whole season. He got off to an awful start. And they're kind of a snake-bitten start last year, too, but the numbers were awful for the first couple of months.
Yeah, he really played well down the stretch and put some big numbers up that made those overall numbers look good. And if he has a good start last season, Randy, like you said, there were a lot of pucks that hit the post for Jordan Kyrou. I think there would have been a different narrative, had some of those pucks gone in. And if they did, he would have been a 40-goal scorer.
What about Robert Thomas? Can he be that guy?
Yeah, I think he can, but from more of a setup role. So, when I think of game breakers, I think of guys, kind of like a Tarasenko, where he can just flip the switch and all of a sudden, that the game's tied. I think Robert Thomas is going to be visually the guy that you watch and you just say, wow. But are guys finishing on the other end of his passes? He's going to set guys up for sure, and that could be quote unquote game breaking. But are there going to be guys on the other end finishing those chances?
What do you think of Buchnevich at center?
So, when I talked to him for a half hour a couple days ago for that piece, and he said, and I don't have the stats in front of me, really hard to find these stats, so I wish I could have got them from the Blues. But he said the winning percentage of the Blues was .600 or better when he played center. And that's what they came to him and said, Dan. They said, this is why we want you to play center. Does he want to play it? I think if he had his choice, he would love to play wing. But as he said to Joey, and as he said in the article that I wrote, he said that I will do whatever it helps to make. So I don't think this is a situation where he says that for your article and then you walk away 10 feet, which you've been in situations like that. I'm sure, Dan, you do an interview with a guy and he tells you one thing and then you walk away and he's like, yeah, I don't like playing center. So I think Buchnevich has got to a point where he does want to do what's best for the team. And look, he's under contract the next 7 years, and next year it's going to step up to $8 million. He's being respected, appreciated, everything. They just want him to play a position that he's not that familiar with.
JR, great stuff as always. Thank you so much. You've got a podcast coming up to do, right?
Yeah, we're going to run down the hallway and hook up with Donnie Fandango and Alex Ferrario and have another installment of the Last Minute Blues podcast, which should be up later today.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider from The Athletic. Coming up, we've got our rush hour reset on 101 ESPN.
biggest stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Brought to you by James Carlton State Farm. Are your car and home insurance rates competitive?
Find out at carltoninsurance.net.
Really interesting game tonight at the ballpark. Cardinals welcome the Guardians to town. Kyle Gibson on the mound for St. Louis, and Cleveland will send Blake Lively to the mound to be their pitcher.
Wasn't she busy like filming a movie or something like that?
Maybe.
She's been coaching the Cardinals.
Oh, man. Booked and busy, huh?
Yeah.
Why would you be coaching the Cardinals and then go play against the Cardinals?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
She also had I think she had her directorial debut this past movie season.
Wow.
Busy.
And launched like a hair brand.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I can't imagine that Reynolds actually helps with the kids at all. So she's doing that too. I mean, just everywhere. Everywhere.
Okay, so actually, the New York, SMY did call Ben Lively at one time, Blake Lively, and then she owned it and then became a huge Guardians fan.
Speaking of the Guardians, you want to see a guy? So I started thinking about, okay, there's 50-50. I went and looked at Jose Ramirez. He's got 35 home runs and 35 steals. He is awesome. The other guy, too, is Clase at the back end of their games. He now has an ERA of .65. So you think about, we were talking about the Padres bullpen being so good. Think about if you get to the back end of the Guardians, game over with Clase. So they're very talented.
Half game
is so good. Yeah.
Cleveland a half game out of the best record in the American League after clinching a playoff spot last night.
Yeah, and you were out there yesterday, Randy, at the ballpark, and you'd mentioned, because the story's out there, that Matt Carpenter, he wants to play in 2025, but Ollie Marmol is saying that they will do kind of a ceremony for him. I wouldn't say ceremony. A moment for Matt Carpenter this weekend.
I mentioned Ollie. I said, hey, you're good at moments. I mean, everybody knows the iconic photo of Yachty and Albert and Waino walking off the field together. I said, will you search for a moment for Carp? And he said, yeah, we'll look for one. He said, I don't know what that'll look like yet, but I know Matt Carpenter wants to play, but I don't think if he gets to play that it'll be here.
My guess would be a pinch hitting appearance.
Yeah, I think that'd be perfect.
Solo on him, place will go nuts. He'll step out, tip his cap, and then hit a home run like Holiday.
By the way, tell me what you think of this. And this wasn't for Lance Lynn, but last year, Ollie got together with the opposing manager to bring a pitcher out, might have been Waino, for a last inning. The pitcher doesn't throw a pitch, but then is able to receive the accolades, the standing ovation from the fans. But the umpires and baseball, and he worked ahead, they wouldn't let him do it because they have a rule that a pitcher has to face a hitter, at least one hitter. Don't you think, for the sake of, they are in the entertainment business, for entertainment, that they would allow something like that when everybody knows and everybody agrees? Why not allow a pitcher like Lance Lynn the other night to go out, stand on the mound for the seventh inning, then Ollie comes and gets him and he walks off the mound?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, especially just to your point of it's the entertainment business, and also you're just showing support and kindness towards somebody who's played for a long time.
I think the other thing, too, you could do with Carpenter, I would imagine it's a pinch hitting appearance, but you could have him go run out to left field.
Yeah.
To start an inning.
Oh, yeah.
And then bring him off the field, which would be another way to do it, too.
That'd be a really good play.
Yeah. So. Give him the accolades and, give him a nice round of applause.
Yep. We have a lot of football tomorrow in the area. Mizzou with a 3 o'clock home game against Vandy. That game can be seen on the SEC Network. Number 25, Illinois, and number 22, Nebraska tonight on the 2 Fox. And Lindenwood hosts St. Thomas tonight. The Lindenwood Media Mafia is back together for the 1 o'clock game. It's on ESPN+. Greg Amsinger doing play-by-play for the first quarter of that game. I'm going to do the third quarter, and we're just going to have a great time. We're going to talk up Lindenwood football tomorrow, and if you can get out there for the contest, it's a 1 o'clocker at Hunter Field at Lindenwood University, at the Lindenwood University.
That's right. I was waiting for that. Are you excited, nervous, scared, Randy? How's the preparation going into it?
Preparation's going great.
Hasn't started yet.
But I am looking forward to it.
Should be fun.
So, and I told you guys yesterday, I told Greg, I'm going to be Pat Summerall, so it's going to be easy for me.
Throw, touchdown.
Yep.
Lions.
Yep. Touchdown. Lindenwood. And then I'll look down and get the name.
There was we had Jim Nance on the golf show, and we asked him about Pat Summerall. He said, well, you go to breakfast with him, and the waitress would come over and say, what would you like? Coffee. How? Black. Eggs. Scrambled. Toast. Burnt. Thank you.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Yeah.
You know.
Is this for this weekend, or is this
No. This is probably a month ago.
Oh, God, you guys had Jim Nance on a month ago?
Yeah.
What the hell? Why don't we make a bigger deal of that?
And we got David Faraday coming up this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We need to make a bigger deal of that. Those are incredible interviews.
Yeah.
Those are shoot the moon interviews.
Yeah,
man. Those
was
are incredible.
Great. He was fun.
Pat Summerall and Jack Buck did the catch together on radio. The Joe Montana to Dwight Clark famous play.
Yep.
It was Buck and Summerall on the radio.
There was nothing like Buck and Hank Stram on the radio.
They were fantastic.
That was the best.
Yeah.
The absolute best.
Hey, don't forget, tonight you can join Blues for Brews, Blues and Brews. Join 101 ESPN and the Blues tonight at Anheuser-Busch. You can get fired up for the season at this outdoor street party featuring live music from country music star
Matt Stale.
Matt Stale. That's somebody who knows the country music scene in Brook. Also,
I did not know who Matt Stell was, though. I almost said Snell.
But
Blake Snell.
But oh yeah, that's another one. But is Long Brook, as you know, that he's a country music star? Like, for example, if Charles Glenn was a country music star, how would we say it?
Charles Glenn.
There you go.
I don't know if that sounded any different.
Charles Glenn Band. So,
Charles Glenn Band.
Yeah, it's never bland. So, the Charles Glenn Band will be there tonight, plus appearances by Shenner and Nabes and Bucci, the center, and Banny, and other blues players. Brobes and Holloway are going to be there too. Got all the nicknames down already.
I always want to know, and I want to ask Joey this eventually one day, because he's great with these kind of answers. How did they pick with either kind of the Y at the end, like Bucci, or if they go with the ER,
I think
like Shenner?
Yeah, whatever fits. Like Shenny doesn't fit really.
Shenny?
Now, here's one of the problems the Blues had in the past when you had David Perron and Colton Parayko, and both of their nicknames were Perry. What do you do then?
Who was Joey's name? I mean, what was his name? Tally?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
What's his hockey nickname? Anyway, tickets on sale for Blues and Brews now. Refreshed by Bud Light and 101 ESPN. Find all the details now at 101ESPN.com and join us tonight for Blues and Brews. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, Joe Litvag from the Evolution Festival. Man, they've got quite a lineup of music coming up at the Evolution Festival. And Joe's going to join us next here on 101 ESPN. Lineup, man.
Thank you.
Good job.
Appreciate it. Well, we had a little issue with our lineup.
What was the replacement? What did you do?
Well, we're in.
Week 3 of the NFL has already started, but don't worry, you can get your entries in for the full slate of Sunday games with our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. It's the greatest time of the year. The NFL is in full swing. My favorite part about Underdog Fantasy is all the different entries I can put in. I can go ahead and spend my Friday putting in the entries for Sunday's game, and then during Sunday's game, maybe things go a little wonky, maybe things go a little bit against me. I can always put in entries live, depending on how the game is going, especially those live higher and lowers on the passing yard stats. That's what I've been liking lately, and that's what I'm going to roll with when I build my entry going into Sunday. In fact, I'm going to take a bonus right now that's sitting on Underdog Fantasy for 0.5 total yards higher on CeeDee Lamb. That's an easy pick. I'm going to add that one to my entry. Then I'm going to go Justin Herbert higher than 175.5 passing yards. That just seems too easy for the Chargers. Will Levis, we're going to go lower than 206 passing yards. I'm not really sure how that higher or lower is bigger than Justin Herbert's, Brooke. And then we're going to go Malik Willis lower than 149.5 passing yards. We're going to go lower in the passing yards in that Packers-Titans game, higher on Justin Herbert. And if there's a promo sitting there, add that to your entry. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code ROCC, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first Cash Champions entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus and present today when Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Consumer the play code 100 gamer is www.ncbgambling.org.
1 week from this weekend, one of the great music festivals in St. Louis takes place on September 28th and 29th. It's the Evolution Festival at Forest Park. And Joe Litvag, our friend from the Evolution Festival, joins us in studio with Brooke and Dan. I'm Randy. Joe, good to see you. How you doing?
Great to be here. I'm doing well. Thank you.
You have quite a lineup, and it's going to be amazing for any kind of music fan. There's going to be something that they like. Any kind of recent pop rock music fan, there's going to be something out there, isn't there?
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of how when we decide the artist lineup, which is a long process to curate the lineup. We really try to think of things in terms of the decades and making sure that we have somebody or a couple acts for each of the decades of fans that are coming. So, I'm a child of the 80s, so that's the music that I grew up on and that I love. So making sure that we had that covered, plus the 70s, plus the 90s, the 2010s, the 2000s, et cetera. So we try to have a few artists that appeal to, all of those different demographics.
You mentioned it's a kind of a long process, so take us through that. How does it work?
Well, it's, creating festivals takes years, and then once a festival has been established, I mean, this is our second year for Evolution Festival, it really quickly becomes a 365-day-a-year process because the planning that goes into it takes all year. So we're actually already in discussions about talent options for 2025. So that's how far in advance it is. And it's booking the talent is a long process between myself, my partner Steve, our amazing talent curator, Jeff Jarrett. The three of us really work hard and put our heads together to come up with, hopefully exactly the right combination of classic, of current. But it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of bouncing ideas off of each other. It's a lot of negotiating with the respective artists and their agents and their managers and things like that. And it's just, sometimes confirmations come quickly and sometimes they take months and months and months. So
it's a lot.
It's a long process. It's why my hair's gray.
And you have a little bit of music for everybody, as you mentioned, that everybody will enjoy. So for the people who haven't seen it, who all will be, I know it's a long list, but who all do you have for the lineup?
All right. Well, I'm going to go off the top of my head, but I do have a cheat sheet in my pocket. But we've got, used the cheat sheet?
Yeah, use it. Yeah.
There you go. I like that. Just use it. So on Saturday, we've got Beck, we've got Billy Idol, we've got Nile Rodgers and Chic, Pete Yorn, Robert Finley, S.G. Goodman, Trey Burt, Beachwood Sparks, Deeper, Billy Tibbles, Chaparral, Asteroid Number 4, and Sean Thompson's Weird Ears. I know you've been waiting for Sean to come.
That was the one that I've been pushing for.
Exactly. Well, we heard you.
Thank you.
And then Sunday we have The Killers, an act to be announced shortly. Killer Mike, El King, Todd Rundgren, Sunvolt, Lola Kirk, Sonny War, Nadine, Pearl Charles, 95 Bulls, the Schizophonics, Daddy Longlegs, and Night Sprites. So we try to have a little bit of something for everybody.
How do you fit that all in?
Well, we have 3 stages, so and we try to not have anybody overlap the larger artists that we know everybody wants to see. So we stagger the stages for most of the day, and then by the time we get to the end of the evening, it's just the main stage and the second stage.
Where is it at Forest Park?
It's in an area called Langenberg Field, which sits immediately behind the tennis courts and the tennis stadium on the sort of northern side of the park. So it's this gorgeous field. We've got a creek that runs right through the middle of it. The boathouse is right next to us, and we use the property outside the boathouse as our VIP activation area. So it's a gorgeous spot, easy to get to, easy to find.
Okay, and you have another act that's going to be announced in about 33 minutes at 10 o'clock.
That is correct.
A replacement act. And we are charged with trying to do... Oh, do you want to do 20 questions here? Is that the way we're going to do this?
Ooh,
want to do it that way?
I'd be game.
Okay, good.
Who's going to count the number of questions?
Yeah. Is this a band as opposed to an individual artist?
It's an individual artist that will be performing with their backing band.
But known as an individual, with the name of an individual. Okay.
Correct.
Is this a rock band or a rock person?
It is a rock artist.
A rock artist.
From what decade?
You have to ask yes or no. So is it from the 80s?
Is it from the 80s?
No.
Is it from the 90s?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
We're narrowing it down.
There we go.
Is it a male.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Brooke.
Yeah, I give up.
Okay, so 90s male rock artist.
From some very popular bands, plural.
Oh.
Dave Grohl.
Too soon.
Okay.
But no.
Have you seen the recent stuff about Dave Grohl?
Yeah.
I know.
But I see why it was top of mind because
whatever.
of the current events.
But you're on. I mean, you're on the right track in terms of narrowing it down.
Grunge music.
I don't know that I would necessarily refer to it as that, but from the same era, and this artist in particular is very friendly with all of those bands, and in fact, perhaps has done some things with some of those bands.
Okay, good. Well,
it's hard to give a yes or no.
That's
to that,
about
right?
the best we can do. Okay. But that's good.
I'm out.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to 20 questions.
No, we haven't.
We haven't started the 20 questions yet.
No,
This is all just warm up.
No, I was saying I can't even think we haven't gotten maybe 10 questions in, and I still have no clue.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think what else. Male, we already said. From some very famous bands of that era.
Okay. Well, Eddie Vedder.
And the goal is, so obviously we're talking about the replacement for Jane's Addiction, who unfortunately had to cancel all of their shows after their onstage altercation last weekend. It is what it is.
Happens.
But our goal was when we decided we were going to try to replace it, and we knew we needed to fill the slot with something. We wanted to try to find somebody of similar, of similar ilk, of similar genre to Jane's Addiction. So maybe that helps.
Eddie Vedder.
Good guess, but no.
Okay. Oh. So people can go to the social medias though for this announcement at 10 o'clock, and all they need to do is go to Evolution Festival on all the socials and get tickets at evolutionfestival.com, right?
Correct. Tickets are available. We've got single day tickets for just Saturday, just Sunday. We've got full weekend tickets. We've got GA. We've got VIP. We've got Platinum, which is our Uber VIP. A few of those still available. So
what does that entail, the Uber VIP?
So you get into all of the VIP areas, and you also get access to the special, what we call the Hideaway Lounge, which is a very sort of secret area backstage with free food and drink all weekend.
Okay. EvolutionFestival.com for more information. Joe, congratulations on assembling such an incredible festival and doing what you do for St. Louis. I know that this is a labor of love for you, and it's pretty cool what you got going on.
It really is, and I can't take all the credit. My partner, Steve Shankman, deserves a lot of the credit as well, as does our incredible team of people that work on the festival. I mean, I couldn't do this by myself, but you're 100% right. It is a labor of love, and the main reason why we're doing it is to create something special that the city of St. Louis can be proud of.
It'll be fun.
Billy Corrigan.
Good guess, but no.
Okay.
You're doing well, Dan.
Yeah, I like grunge.
We'll learn it. We'll learn it.
Big grunge fan.
Coming up, they said what here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, Shohei Ohtani with maybe the greatest offensive game in Major League Baseball history as he passes the 50-50 mark for the first time in league history, and he goes 6 for 6 for 10 RBIs, 3 home runs, and 2 stolen bases while doing it, finishing with 51 and 51 after the night was over. Cardinals couldn't finish out their sweep of the Pirates yesterday. They will start a 3-game series against the Guardians tonight, 7:15 first pitch. Ben Lively faces off against Kyle Gibson for the Cardinals, and last night kicked off NFL Week 3, and it was the Jets beating up on the Patriots 24-3 in their victory. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What you talking about?
What the hell are you talking about?
What you talking about?
Do you actually listen to yourself when you speak, or do you find you drift in and out?
What you talking about?
Bro, I'm out, man.
Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rockio here, and it is time for They Said What? There you. I was wondering if you were going to come in at the end there. Eventually, I'll maybe get Dan to do one of those.
Oh, I did.
They said what? Oh, yes, very softly. All right, so
let's do it now that we've practiced.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
They said
what? That was beautiful. I felt like I was back in choir at school there for a minute. Yes. Yeah. As we were talking about throughout the show today in Miami, it was a historic night for Shohei Ohtani in front of the thousands, maybe hundreds of fans over with the Miami Marlins. Sad to say, but they've been struggling and scuffling. But either way, Shohei Ohtani making Major League Baseball history, creating a club of his own, the 50-50 club, stealing 50 bases and hitting 50 home runs in a single season. When the night was done, though, he finished with 51 home runs and 51 stolen bases. The Dodgers beat the Marlins 20-4 in that game. Now, prior to his 50th home run, if you're watching, they did a close-up of Skip Schumacher in the dugout, and you could see he was saying, "I'm not walking him. I have too much respect for him." Skip was asked about that moment after the game.
I think that's a bad move, baseball-wise, karma-wise, baseball god-wise. You go after him and see if you can get him out. And I think out of respect for the game, we're going to go after him. He hit the home run. I mean, that's just part of the deal. He's hit 50 of them. He's the most talented player I've ever seen. He is doing things that I've never seen done before in the game. And if he has a couple more of these peak years, he might be the best ever to play the game. So I just, as a fan, I wish I was in the stands, not in the dugout, seeing it. But it's I'm proud of the guys that were attacking him and not scared of him. And that's how you should go after it. And then he hit the home run. I mean, I know Baumann didn't want the home run to be hit, but he hit it. And so it was a good day for baseball, a bad day for the Marlins.
He's right in many ways. And also, Skip is the best. Can we just go ahead and say that? He is wonderful, and that was a hard loss for the Cardinals organization, but he deserved to get a shot as a big league manager. Just wish it was somewhere else other than Miami, of
in the
course.
Big leagues.
Yeah, in the real big leagues. But at the same time, he did nothing wrong there in that moment. He did the right thing because there's no playoff implications. We know where the Dodgers are when it comes to the playoff picture, and they're deep inside of it, and the Marlins are outside of it. Skip did the right thing.
I don't think he could have said it any better than approaching it the way that he did. I think he did do the right thing. Some would say, no, you walk him, and the score was out of reach. You got to, it's baseball history. You got to give him a shot. You know what really interested me was when he said he's the best player I've ever seen.
Yeah, me too.
He played next to Albert Pujols.
Right.
And I guess there's a lot of things that separate the two. Ohtani can pitch. He's stealing bases, all that kind of stuff. But it was something that caught my attention.
Me too. And he used the word most talented, the two words most talented. But still, Albert was an uber talented player. But if you do throw in the ability of Shohei to pitch, then we haven't seen anybody with more talent. I mean, that's 6 tools.
I went back and looked at the StatCast for his season. Shohei Ohtani has now hit 13 home runs that have gone at least 440 feet.
Wow.
13 home runs. So remember, this is a guy that they're paying now $700 million, the life of the contract. They're paying him $2 million this year. It's a pretty good bargain.
Yeah, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the number 2 home run hitter with home runs of that distance is 7.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So he's done it twice, basically.
And the big discussion today, as you guys were talking about, is that there's been so many great players. But from a pure talent standpoint, would you guys agree that Shohei Ohtani, when he's done, when he's finished, of course we have to see how things go for him for the rest of his career, he could be the greatest ever? I know that Babe Ruth exists, the way that he has changed baseball, but at the same time, Babe Ruth wasn't stealing 50 bases a season. He also wasn't slinging over 100. And you also have to look at the talent perspective of what Shohei Ohtani is going against now.
And Ruth didn't pitch as effectively in his era, and he was in kind of a dead ball era, but relative to the other pitchers of his time, Ruth wasn't as effective as Ohtani is.
And the players that he had to face, as opposed to what we see now. I'm serious about this. If you're the Dodgers, would you consider going into next year and just say, he's going to get on the mound at some point, but just say, why take a risk? Why have him get Tommy John again or blow out an elbow?
I think he wants to.
I know, but I mean, I'd be sitting there saying, I can't overlook what he's doing here as a hitter.
Incredible.
I don't want to get him hurt.
Yeah, was that his second Tommy John surgery?
Mm-hmm. He's had 2.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a great question to ask there. I can see Shohei Ohtani, though, wanting to pitch. He's a unicorn.
Yeah. There was a texter earlier that thinks that what Ronald Acuna did last year is comparable. I don't see that. Do you guys see Acuna's year last year being comparable to this?
No.
So
not at all.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if anybody else saw it that way.
I mean, the other thing, too, just the body of Shohei Ohtani. He's a big man stealing 50 bases. Yeah. That's incredible to me.
6'2". How much does he weigh?
6'5". He's 6'4".
Or is he 6'5"? Or 6'5". You're right, I think.
I guess the question is how, so 9 more home runs on a 41 home run pace. We're talking about 20% more home runs in a season. Is that a huge gap?
He still has 10 games left, too.
That's true. But would we be reacting like
50-50?
It's not 50-50. It's 41-79 or 73, excuse me. So I understand where the Texans are coming from to a point, because he just had 20 more stolen bases and we're talking 9 home runs. But at the same time, it's not like 9 home runs. We're talking about the difference between 41 and 50 is chopped liver. Like that's still a fairly large increase across a 160 game sample size.
636 says Babe Ruth is more aura and persona. Yes, I know how great he was back then, but him being the GOAT is silly. Yep. Yeah, we'll go overseas and ask them about Shohei Ohtani and what he means to them.
Yeah. Impressive.
Yeah. It is very impressive.
We've got tickets for the Evolution Festival for you, and we've got a question about one of the bands that's going to be playing at the Evolution Festival. The name of the band is The Killers. Fit right in. Playing in St. Louis.
Jesus.
What?
Randy.
What? We are a rock and roll mecca. We had Chuck Berry. We had Fontella Bass. We had the guys from Earth, Wind, and Fire. Or no, the Temptations. So we are a music hotbed. We had Scott Joplin. We had Tina Turner. Just another band that fits right in with what we have been. We have Nelly. So
Tina Turner lived here from like 2 to 6 years old.
No, she played at the Lamplight District for years.
Aaron Rodgers had a hell of a night last night.
I always wonder about the St. Louis stuff because we like to claim people who lived here for 4 years.
Yeah, so we've got a question about the Killers that we want you to answer right now to get Evolution Festival tickets. The Killers have a great song, don't they, Matthew?
Yeah, Mr. Brightside, everybody loves it, including those Missouri Tiger fans. It's been a staple at Missouri Tiger football games since about 2007, but they're not the only college football program who's used it, especially lately. Last year, which college football program started using Mr. Brightside for their in-stadium celebrations?
On a regular basis, because they'd used it occasionally since 2016.
Yes, but it got national pub, and became a thing last year in 2023.
All right, so there you go. If you are texter number 11, and you can answer which school is playing the song Mr. Brightside by the Killers as a hype song for their fans, which recent college football team has adopted it, you can win a pair of tickets to the Evolution Festival. All right, coming up, we've got Cardinal tickets to give away, and we've got Rocc and Roll here on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird Report. Brendan Donovan had 4 hits and drove in both of the Cardinals' runs last night, but the Cardinals ultimately lost 3-2 to the Pirates at Busch Stadium, dropping the series finale after winning 3 straight. The rest of the team was held to just 2 hits, both by Paul Goldschmidt. The Cardinals will begin their final home series of the season tonight against the Cleveland Guardians. Kyle Gibson will be the starter. First pitch is at 7:15.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
All right, do we have the answer to the Michigan? Well, I guess we just gave the answer.
I was like, wait a minute, no.
Yes, we had already given the answer.
It's like when Dan gives away the Bob Gibson answer.
Yeah, right, every morning. So
Bob Gibson.
Michigan started using Mr. Brightside from the Killers as their song.
Wow, they still the Block M and now this.
I think we got rid of the Block M so they can have it.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I know
I like the
people-
Block M.
Eli's
You don't
trying to
like
bring
the
it
Block
back.
M.
I love the Block M. It's just if you want to copy Michigan, they have more wins than any program in history. That's great. But
Yeah.
let's copy the success too.
I like the Tiger script. Let's keep going with the Tiger script.
I heard
like
that Coach thinks that's a fad.
Yeah, well, you know what?
I don't think that's going anywhere. Yeah,
He's a 55-year-old from Appalachia with glasses. I'm not surprised.
Eli. Eli thinks it's a fad.
Yeah,
Eli's 40.
Yeah, he's
Sorry, a
younger
40-year-old
than
from
that.
Appalachia.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just not surprised.
Don't age him yet.
Yeah.
I always
He's just
forget,
41.
the fact that he's that young always
Man,
surprises
he's
the hell out of
40.
me.
He's
He's
a
a
young
man. He's
buck.
40.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's a fad, like the Oregon Ducks and their uniforms things for the last 20 years was a fad.
Awesome.
Like, get out of here.
Great. Hey, the
Players
opening
care.
drive, that's us. We have your chance to score a pair of tickets to tomorrow's Cardinals game against the Guardians. And it'll feature a special hat to commemorate the 25-year anniversary of the greatest show on turf. All you need to do is get details for tomorrow's special Greatest Show on Turf theme night by going to cardinals.com/greatest show on turf. Or you can simply text in and win a set of tickets now. 314-399-9646. 314-399-YO-HO for your chance to win the free tickets to Saturday's Cardinals game. All right, Matthew, what do you got in terms of questions?
I got a little trivia question here about the 1999 St. Louis Rams, because of course I do. They beat teams by four or more touchdowns 5 times across that season. Their biggest wins, though, in the regular season were 2 different 31-point victories. Just text in one of the teams they beat by 31 points in that 1999 regular season.
49ers.
That would be nice, though, considering the whole same old sorry ass Rams thing that they had always given the Rams, and then you said to wait 5 weeks into the season for that shellacking. How good did that feel, Randy?
Well,
the catharsis as a Rams broadcaster and fan of watching them just absolutely just take it to the 49ers.
Having loaded up the tailgate with post-game champagne and champagne glasses, it felt pretty darn good.
Do you know the two teams?
Just because Matthew told me.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah. But that was not the home game against the Niners is not one of them. The final score of that game was 42-20. Isaac scored 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, 4 for the game, and the Rams were able to take a knee and have mercy on the 49ers at the end of that game. They took a knee at the 1-yard line, and that's when Dick Vermeil was holding his press conference after the game at the Dome, and Bill Walsh, who was the general manager of the Niners at the time, walked in and put his arm around Dick Vermeil and said, "You're going all the way, baby."
That was it. He would know.
Yep, and then the Rams did.
How about the Bengals?
That game?
Yeah.
That was a fun game.
Is that a shellacking?
That was another shellacking.
I remember that being lopsided.
Oz scoring 4 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Is that one of them, Matthew?
No, you're still dancing around one of the 2 answers.
Huh.
I'm sorry, but we will soon pick a winner, and then I'll let you know, Danny. And the suspense can finally end.
It's killing me.
They were pretty good, the 99 Rams.
Yes, they were.
So it'll be good to honor them tomorrow, and hope you'll be able to make it over to the ballpark. With everything going on with the Cardinals this year, you get to honor one of the great teams in the history of their sport. There's 3 or 4 single-season teams that are in the argument for the best, and they're all Super Bowl champions. 85 Bears, 91 Redskins, 99 Rams. Those are the 3. And the best Steelers team was a 76 team that didn't go to the Super Bowl.
We were talking about, is this the last time that you get these guys together?
Yes.
With the amount of players coming back.
And there's a good reason for that. Number one, we don't have the franchise here anymore. And I think most important is that as you try to sell tickets for events like this, and the gala tonight is sold out, which is awesome. Our response to Isaac and that team is fantastic. But you got to think about the fact that right now, a 30-year-old person doesn't remember the greatest show on turf.
Right.
They don't remember that 99 season. So as we get further away, I think it'll be harder to get people interested. So.
We have a winner is in the text line, and they correctly answered. The 2 games where they won by 31 points, they beat the Living Tar out of the Browns in Week 7, 34-3.
Greatest run in the history of the league.
That is the Marshall comes to the sideline. Dave Vermeil says, Marshall, we didn't block anybody.
Yeah.
And that has in my opinion, maybe one of the greatest jukes ever, where after getting past the line of scrimmage in the initial front 7 or 8 of the Browns, Marshall stops on a dime as a guy's coming from behind his peripheral vision, and he stops on a dime, and the guy just runs right in front of him. And it might be one of the greatest jukes I've ever seen in my entire life. And God, I love that play so much.
Was interesting. Marshall said that he didn't see defensive players. He saw colors. He saw either his team's color or the other team's color.
Wow. And I imagine
green.
If you were in his brain at that time, it was just a weird flash of white and orange right here somehow, and he caught that and just went, nope. And then the other game was Week 12 against the New Orleans Saints. They beat them 43-12.
Poor Coach Venturi.
Yeah.
Marshall, the smartest player you've been around?
Without question. It's not even close.
Is that right?
He knew every single offensive player's assignment, and he knew all the rules. Yeah, he was brilliant. But because Ernie Conwell was hurt that year, a lot of what Marshall did in terms of receiving were tight end routes. They just say, you run what Ernie would have run, and that's why he was so open one-on-one with linebackers so often.
Marshall is still intense. I emceed at the Ascension Charity Classic. They had the Lou against Mizzou, so former players are back. Marshall Falk was back. I mean, he took it seriously.
Oh, yeah, he's
intense.
Still competitive to this day.
Yeah. Still to this day.
Yeah, still doing that off-season program.
So I thought that Aaron Rodgers was really good last night.
He was good, yeah.
281, couple of TDs.
The Jets are 2-1. The New York Football Jets are 2-1. Aaron Rodgers is a miracle worker.
He had 8 different receivers that caught a pass last night.
And his last touchdown pass for the Packers to Alan Lazard, his first with the Jets to Alan Lazard, and his first at home for the Jets to Alan Lazard.
Yeah, his first home win with the Jets.
Can I say the craziest part about that stat, Dan, is that he had 6 different receivers in his first 8 completions.
Yeah. Pretty good. 7 of the 8 caught multiple passes, too.
Yep. You guys hope he wins the Super Bowl?
I wouldn't mind it. He's fun to watch. He'd be a great story at the age of 40. Yep.
Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
All right. That's what we like to hear. You going to go play pickleball today?
Today is not a pickleball day, no.
It's not?
No, I have other things going on, sadly. Things that just get in the way of pickleball. I don't like that.
There's pesky work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know.
What is that about?
Daniel, you're the best.
Great job, Randall.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thanks.
And you won the fight. You can go into the weekend happy.
Bad math on the Warner... On the Warner.
Were you up 10 yards?
I was up by 10 yards.
Yeah.
Bad math. That's why I carry the one. Shouldn't have carried the one. Anyway, we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of this program. Blues hockey starts tomorrow night. Game against the Stars, 5 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN. For all of us until Monday morning at 7, don't just have a great weekend. Have an American weekend.